It's been a fun little science project in a way, I
Yeah.
think. Kind
Oh
of
yeah.
tweaking everything, getting everything dialed in,
Oh, for
how I
sure.
want it, creating my own little space over here. It's
That's
kind of
so cool.
addicting.
It is. It really is. And that's how I feel about starting our shop. It's been just this little like
Oh, I
there's
bet.
I've learned a lot about intentionality, and just you have to be intentional. Like you have that project that you're working on, and you get to be intentional about it, and everything is for a purpose, and everything is for a reason. And like it's cool when people come into your space, and then they're like, "Oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool," and like, and you get to be like, "Well, that's not an accident. Like, I really focused on this to be the way it is."
Yeah,
And
especially when you're putting in little visual cues that you think are cool. Like I've
yeah,
got things hung up on the wall that I like, and so whenever
right.
somebody says, "Oh, that's a really cool picture," I'm like, "Fuck yeah, it is!"
Yeah,
Right? I
absolutely.
picked that.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I'm sure you can appreciate that, and with a small business, it's almost magnified because
Yeah.
this is your baby. You're putting all
Oh
your
yeah.
work, all your time into this.
Yeah.
And when somebody comes in and is like, you know what, I like this. I think you've got a sweet spot. It just makes it that much nicer.
Yes, it just feels really good. And there are little pieces that different people can identify with. Like you've got a Giants, like I'm a Giants fan, so like I can identify with that.
Hook, line, and sinker right there.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't skate, so I don't identify with that. But you know, the little pieces where you can feel connected and stuff is really cool.
So how is the coffee business? You were from Harbour Coffee and
Yeah,
Wine. For
Harvard
people that
Coffee.
don't know, you
Yeah,
and your wife started this.
yeah.
What was the thought process there?
Um, we so we lived in Reading for about 5 years, so both of us could go to college, and we can probably get into maybe our story a little bit later. But
Yeah.
we grew accustomed to a certain type of coffee that was available to us in Reading, and it's the specialty. We call it specialty or third wave coffee. It's just an elevated experience of coffee, and that's why we are Harbor Coffee and Wine, because it's actually an easy jump between it's people already understand the approach to wine, because wine you're smelling it, you're savoring it, you're tasting it, and then you're identifying different notes. And then the things that go into effect how wine tastes is the type of grape, where the grape is grown, the elevation of the grape, the surroundings of the grape. Like if there is like a forest fire near the area, that affects the taste of the grapes that were near that area. So like, oh, the environment around the grapes really affect, and then how they are harvested really affect the grapes. So that's easy for people to understand because there's such a culture around understanding wine, and they're like people approach wine like that. But there's also the people that drink wine just to drink wine.
Yeah, you
They
buy a
like how it
$20
tastes.
box
Yeah,
wine.
two
Yeah.
buck two buck check, and
Yep.
they enjoy it.
I think I fall into that category.
Yeah, yeah. So we have that same approach to coffee, and there's the specialty and third wave um, culture around coffee is we are we're really intentional about how it's roasted, the region in which it's grown, the environment, like the elevation, like everything, where the everything with the coffee is important, just like wine. So, and then our approach to coffee is we calculate everything. So if we're making you a shot of coffee, we're weighing out how much we put into the portafilter, and we're weighing that on a scale, and then we're actually weighing the shot that comes out.
Oh, so you
So
guys have it
it's
all. You have it all dialed in.
yeah, and then we aim for about 32 seconds of the process. So we time it and we weigh everything. So we're getting exactly the taste and the we call it a yield. We're getting the exact yield that we intend to get. And then we train all our baristas to approach it. And the fun thing about coffee is there's many different ways to do it, and it's very fluid. So you know, if you pull a shot for 33 seconds, or you could really do the exact same thing every time and get like it's never really tastes quite the same though. So it varies, but there's a by weighing and timing, you're getting a consistently good yield, but it also is
There's a little
different.
variation in
There's
there.
variations, and like we talked about earlier, like it's just fun
Yeah.
to do that. So
So when you guys are weighing it out like that, is that because that's the weight that you found? Okay, this tastes the best for
yeah,
me personally.
yeah, like 40 grams of coffee at 32 seconds. That's what we found. And then a few weeks later, we'll reevaluate. And if we're tasting it and that's got maybe a little on the sour side, we're like, okay, maybe we need to adjust our parameters, and we'll communicate that to our baristas and say, hey,
Hey, we need to change
we
this.
need to change this.
That's pretty
So
intense. You're
yeah,
talking to a guy who I recently got a French press because I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. It was a Prime Day thing, so I was like, okay, why not?
right,
And I'm just scooping,
yeah,
spoonfuls of ground coffee in there.
right,
It's Folgers,
yeah, oh
I'm
yeah,
super basic.
yeah,
But that ties into what you were talking about, this wino idea of where people are like, oh, this is a 1932 Cabernet
right,
from, Ireland.
yeah,
And it's like,
oh yeah,
okay, what? And they're like, oh, it's
exactly.
got hints of
Yeah,
hints of chocolate and nutmeg, and you're like, oh, is this not just wine? What are we talking about here?
right,
But that's where culture is kind of going, especially with coffee now.
yeah,
More people are getting into that. This is. I want gourmet. I want that feeling.
right.
I want the best coffee I can taste.
Exactly. And yeah, that's kind of our mission and goal, is to just bring people along to like good coffee. And just like we, in the specialty third wave world, they get offended if you put sugar in it, or like white mochas are just this big, like they
No,
hate
no.
that people get white mochas, or
So is it just straight
and
black
it's
coffee?
so it's milk and coffee with a little bit of, like, if you want a sweetener, like a lot of they like the we we like to play with like more natural flavorings. Like my favorite drink to make is a honey lavender latte. It's not like super sweet, but there's subtle flavoring, and people love that one. Or I like using brown sugar in some of my lattes. But yeah, our coffee tastes really, really good black, so I always try to have our customers come in and try our black coffee, because there is actually flavor to it. It's not just burned. It tastes really good. So that's kind of our hope, is to like bring Eureka along to a better coffee experience, and that's our goal. But we still offer the white mocha. We still offer the things that they're comfortable with, that they know. And if they're like, no, like we want, if they come and order a white mocha, we're not gonna,
So I don't think you can be here anymore. We got to kick your ass out.
Exactly.
Is the white mocha and drinks like that to kind of just get customers in the door? So hey, we've got the basics, but
Yeah.
when you're ready, we're gonna nudge you this way a little bit.
Exactly. And just the fact that our espresso is so intentional and just so dialed, your white mocha is just gonna taste all the more better, anyways. But we stand by the fact that it really doesn't need it, because it tastes good.
So this
and
whole oh no, continue.
even our size standards, people will come in and order a 16 ounce or like 20 ounce. We don't carry that. We carry 8 ounce and 12 ounce, and that's where we're not about quantity. We're about the quality, and you can get just as much. If if you want the caffeine, then you can just get just as much with a 12 ounce, and it's like you start to lose the flavor and the integrity of the coffee if you go any higher in size.
So you're trying to preserve that natural taste of the coffee. You don't
Yeah.
want to just bury that in sugar.
No,
I
or
think a
milk.
lot of people do
Yeah.
that. I was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of those people. I go to Starbucks and get a caramel frappuccino
Yeah.
with whatever on top. And it's
Yeah.
like you're not drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You're just having sugar water.
Right.
It's like,
And
okay.
I don't want to knock that. That's just
It's good. It's
but
addicting.
yeah, when people, to shout out, like Jitterbean or places locally, like people will want you to say like, oh, their coffee is not as good as yours, or like that. I don't get into that, because Jitterbean does what Jitterbean does well, and they do really, really well at it. And but we have totally different audiences and totally different like focuses and approaches to coffee, and that's totally okay with me. And so, where's I going with that? What were we talking about?
We're
I
talking
lost
about
it. Yeah.
it's not bad if you like that
Yeah.
sugary
Oh
coffee.
yeah.
You can have that and
Yeah.
it's gonna be
And
okay.
it's a tasty treat. Like I'll go to Jitterbean, I'll go to Dutch Bros. People will see it in my hand and be like, "Don't you own a
Coffee
coffee
shop?
shop?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But this is I enjoy this too." Like
And
I
you're not making a rebel. Like that's not your
right.
niche.
No, no. Yeah, so we definitely we enjoy and love,
Coffee.
coffee, and like I'll have instant coffee every once in a while and really enjoy it. Like there's a taste to instant coffee that I just love. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but it's tasty, so
That's
I
a
drink
healthy
it.
perspective to have, right? You don't want to be a snob in your niche. People
Right.
kind of slip into that. We're like, this
Yeah.
is the only way to do it. And I almost feel a little blasphemous over here. I'm drinking a
I know.
Starbucks canned coffee,
Right. Yeah.
but everything good in moderation, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you're talking about this third wave idea, is that just this kind of elevation of what it means to drink a coffee? Like we're not just doing the caramel frappuccino, we are doing these like honey in our coffee and these hints of things and we're weighing it out and we're really trying to perfect what that means. Is that what the third wave means? What is
Yeah,
Because I've never heard that term.
right. Yeah, it's that is that third wave. It's the elevated experience of coffee. You're focused on the region. Like in the shop right now, we have a bean from Peru. We have a bean from Ethiopia. We have a really we're on our drip. We're doing a Colombia, and it is so good. And
Colombia's got some of the best coffee,
oh
right?
my gosh,
Okay.
um I just was made aware of Colombia, and is really tasty. It's like right in the middle. Like the more progressive coffees get a little kind of like sweet and kind of like a tea, but it's got and that can be a little intense. Once you get those, you have the intensity of coffee, but you also have the intensity of like these very fruity flavors, and people aren't used to tasting that in their coffee. But Colombia has a really good like middle ground. It's familiar enough to enjoy, but it also is progressive enough to really kind of be like, oh, I'm kind of stepping out here, and it's such a good cup of coffee. So that's my go-to these days.
It's Colombian.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thought. Like we're not just like it. Our coffee people are like, what kind of crack are you putting in this stuff? Because because it's lighter roast and um, it's processed in a way that is very very caffeinated. So you can definitely get jacked up on that coffee.
Which is what
So
most people are looking for. Or I
yeah.
shouldn't say most, but aside from flavor, that's really one of the big go-tos for coffee, right?
Oh yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
stereotypical I've got to get some caffeine in my system.
Yeah. And our caffeine is very very pure. So it
Is there a
can
way to control for that when you're
yeah,
brewing coffee?
and that's in the that's well not brewing. That's in the roasting process, and
Okay.
that's something that we want to get into in the future. But we use Theory Collaborative, and their beans, and they're out of Reading. So kind of in a roundabout way, we're kind of back here to when my wife Sarah and I moved back here, we um, we were really looking for that third wave specialty coffee shop. While we loved all the other coffee around, we were really looking for the specific type of coffee, the specialty third wave coffee, and we couldn't find it. Um, and so we were like, we moved back in 2019, and so we kind of had that thought then like maybe we should like start our own. Let's bring it to Eureka or Humboldt County. Let's bring specialty coffee back with us. And how that happened, we were driving on I think E Street, and we saw this little like it was like a little boutique, like it looked like a little hair salon or something, and it looked like it could have been a coffee shop, and something in our beings just jumped,
Just clicked.
and we were like that'd be such a cool coffee shop, and then we were like maybe we should start our own, and then we got like super scared. Is that like
Of
you
all
feel
the
like
things that can
you're
go wrong.
like,
It's
yeah,
like, oh, maybe
exactly,
we shouldn't.
exactly. It got really intimidating, um, but and we're very very busy people, so at that time like we couldn't fathom taking on another thing. So it was just kind of a dream in the back of our minds, and we just kind of we put it on the back burner, and then last summer it became reality. We had every once in a while, from 4 or 5 years ago to when we started the coffee shop, we would have times of, okay, we're going to different areas and kind of looking at spaces and just kind of keeping the dream alive a little bit. And nothing really clicked until we saw our current location, and then
Which is a
we were,
great spot.
yeah, it's
That's a perfect
wonderful.
spot for a little coffee shop.
Yeah, and I love the area. I love the like Myrtletown is such a cool place, and I have a lot of hope for it in the future, and to just kind of be part of what's happening there. You got food trucks, you've got other businesses that are amazing. When I was doing construction on the space and remodels, I would see people like out and about.
It's a busy little
Yeah,
spot over there.
yeah, and I'm like, this place is actually has potential to be uh, have just a little more activity. So it's really nice to be in that area and part of it, and just to talk to people that are local, as well as people that are just, they might not live in that part of town, but they'll swing in and say, hey.
So what flipped the switch and made you guys realize, okay, we do need to do this? Because that first step, that's what trips everyone up. It's
Yeah,
the hardest one.
yeah,
It's just to get over the hump of, man, we should do this, but maybe not. I mean,
right.
maybe it wouldn't work for us.
We There was a time, I think it was March of 2021. We had went and visited Sarah's family, and we drove back, and we had someone was dog sitting our dog, and we went to pick it up, and we on the way from Medford. Her family was in Medford, so we're driving from Medford. On the way, we had little, just little. We would talk a little bit on the drive about, just about kind of future and what's on our hearts, and then we parked, to pick up our dog, and like all of a sudden I'm like we're outside of the house just talking, and like there's just something that like both of us aren't saying, and then I finally was like, really, like if we don't do this, we're gonna look back and really regret it. Like we really, like I felt really really strongly about that, and we were sitting out there probably for like 30 minutes to an hour, just talking it out and just really making sure that this was a jump, because I mean, even then we didn't know how much work it was going to be. We didn't know how much of a sacrifice it would be, but we had an idea of what we were getting into, and we really had to make sure that this is something worth jumping for. And yeah, that was kind of the point. The turning point was realizing that, yeah, if we don't do this, we're really going to regret it in the future. So we just kind of, from there, we started taking slow steps towards it. And I think once you make that decision, I think there's always, like, there was definitely times where we could have been like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do it. But every time we stepped into something, it just kept working out. And now we're here.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah.
Regret can be a very strong motivator if you let it.
Oh, absolutely.
Be very strong.
Yeah.
Can be paralyzing as well if you're
Yeah.
not careful, but
Right.
it's always better to figure out what happens than to wonder what if.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
I believe that too. And I think there are certain dreams and opportunities that we just have to trust and jump and do it. And
just
yeah,
see what happens.
exactly.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
My mom likes to say, "You're not going to lose your birthday," and that's what I always felt back.
Exactly.
I'm not going to lose my birthday. Nobody's going to take that away from me.
Exactly. And we've learned so much. I have grown so much personally through this experience. Like, I definitely started a little like insecure in myself, a little more of a pushover, but having to run a business really, it
Pulls you up on your feet.
yeah, it grows you up real quick. So I still have tons to learn. Like, anything you get into, like the specialty coffee world, there's so much to learn. Like I am scratching the surface. Like, I feel like even explaining coffee to you right now, I'm just like, this is what I know so far. Like, there are probably people listening that know more about coffee than I do right now, and they're probably like, "You're not talking about this," but I'm still learning those things, you know. Like I know the process that we have, and we've got Theory, the people that we get our beans from right now, and some of our baristas, like they are really coming alongside of us and like teaching us stuff, patient with us, working with us, and like building this coffee shop. So it's a ever growing thing. Like we haven't arrived, and who knows if we will arrive to like exactly what maybe other people's standards are, but we're making sure that we're doing what we're doing now really well and being intentional about that. And I think that's what matters most.
And the important thing is your standards, right? Your standards and your wife's standards for what it is. I think you can get tripped up on trying to build something that other people approve of.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as long as you're hitting your bar, I mean, unless your bar is
Exactly.
like really low and
Right.
you're just taking way
Yeah.
too many baby steps.
Right.
But if you've got a realistic bar and you know what your standard is, I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Oh yeah.
That's what you should be focusing on is this something I'm proud of?
Right. And yeah, and I am. And I'm just excited to see
Where
where
it
it goes from
goes.
here.
Yeah.
And we have people, like I said, like Sarah and I are very, very busy. We've got all sorts of different projects, things that we do, and people ask like, how do you like handle it all? How do you
How do you
keep
find the
How do
time?
you find the time? And really, it's about community. It's about the people that we have around us. Like we have so many just amazing people, and we've built relationships with people, and entrusted, like we've had to entrust our dream with other people. We've had to be. It's been a learning experience, especially for me, how to be specific and straightforward with what I want to see done, but also let go and let people have the freedom to do like what they feel. They like utilize their giftings as well. Like I have a specific like for our baker, Bailey. I think she's Bailey_Kimberling on Instagram. Like you can
Shout out to Bailey.
shout out to Bailey. She's amazing. She's incredible. And like I'll tell her this is what I want, but and then she'll take it from there. Like we usually like I'll say I want 3 pastries, and then she'll make whatever 3 pastries she wants, and she has them recurring, and she kills them. Like just they are delicious, like they are like there's nothing that tastes like it because it's her. Like she is just really good at what she does. And if I try to micromanage that and say you can use this, you can't use this, or you can make this, you can't make this, you have to make it this way. This is our standard. Instead of just letting her just set the standard and do it how she does it well, while maintaining like she has to follow health code, like that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah, she's now shedding into the codes. That might be a problem.
Right.
But you're not setting the standard, but you're setting the expectation, and she is playing around within that realm.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The micromanaging thing is dangerous because nobody likes that. Nobody likes to feel like somebody's breathing down your shoulder.
Exactly.
Especially being a baker. I mean, there's a lot of creativity in that. Like,
Right.
okay, what am I going to make? Am I going to make a scone? Am I going to make a Danish? What am I feeling?
Right.
And if you were like, okay, you're going to make it this exact way.
Exactly.
That might be a problem.
Yeah.
I could see Bailey she might have an issue with that.
She might. And then she's training other people to do that same thing. And it's like multiplying, she's baking is, man, crazy hours. It's very, like I've seen it. I see how high stress it can be, and just the getting up early in the morning so that everything's ready to go by the time we open. Like it's hard. So she's training and getting people ready to do it as well. So there's not as much pressure on her. So that's kind of what we really like to see is, okay, we're entrusting this person, and that person's entrusting these people, and that multiplication of just creativity and effectiveness and yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Was it hard not micromanaging her at the beginning? Because this is your baby, right? This is your thing. And you're like, I have this vision of what I want. Was it hard to kind of give her a little more leash? Or not her specifically, but just with the business in general, kind of set the expectation and then let everybody run wild with it?
That's something that I'm good at. I am trying to learn how to be good at developing like leadership development, developing leaders, developing people to really go after their dreams and goals. And I get to do it on this little scale of Harbour, where they're employed, but I'm also encouraging them to follow their dreams, hopes, and goals. It's really beyond, like, everyone that works for us right now is probably not going to, it's a part-time job, so they're probably not going to be with us forever. Each person that works for us, so they're gonna go do their own things. But I want to be someone who empowers them to really to learn those skills of how do I be creative in what I do, take advantage of the opportunities that I have within Harbour, but also like I hope Bailey starts her own bakery one day, and then we're just a wholesale account for her, and one of the many, like that's my hope, is to help give people a strong foundation so that they can do do more. And so that's kind of where my focus was at the very beginning. So it was a lot easier. I think the difficulty for me is definitely maybe on the other side of, like, just staying with them, just holding them accountable that they're getting, like, the job done and getting it done the proper way. Like, I'm working on developing more of a standard, and
Like more
like more
accountability.
accountability.
Okay.
And
So you're on the
I'm on the
opposite
other
end.
end. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I trust you, go do it.
Then they're
But
outside
I'd be
smoking a
like,
joint. And you're like, hey, maybe we
exactly.
should cook something.
Yeah, I mean, in my first month, I had to fire someone. I had to, I've done a lot of, like, conflict resolution. I've had to really put my big boy pants on and just call the shots. And so I can do it, and, like, I've learned how to do it, but it's definitely still it's my least favorite thing to do. Um, and there are probably areas where I can be a little more involved, and walk alongside people instead of just being like, okay, go.
Yeah.
And I don't want our employees feeling deserted or anything. So that's kind of what I focus on. I don't think anyone feels that way. It's just it's more likely than them feeling micromanaged, I think, by me.
It's it's very interesting that you kind of went into your business with that perspective. Because a lot of people, they start their business and they set it up in a way where they want everyone they bring in to stay there.
Right.
Like, this is your priority. Your priority is helping me build my dream. We're all working on this one thing
Right.
and we're focusing. We're working 15 hours. We're focusing on this idea. I don't want you working on your other project because then you're taking away from your time.
Yeah.
I think, especially, I'm a little biased because that's like the tech startup world, which is what I'm a
Right.
little more familiar with. Is
Yeah.
that's what you're doing, especially
Yeah.
like in game development. You're just working on this one idea. You're not out programming your other thing on the side. No, we're working every day on this one thing.
Right.
And it's interesting
Exactly.
hearing you say, well, I want to help them build their ideas too. I want this to kind of be a pit stop on their journey to where they're going to end up.
Right.
I think that's a really awesome way to look at it.
Yeah, and that's the vision of our shop in general. That's why it's called Harbour. It's a place where people just can come rest. The phrase that I use is "step into Harbour, step out of the hurry," and you're stepping. You're at the beginning of it. I was trying to build a shop that was very unique to Humboldt, like was nothing like it. So I coined the term step into Harbour, step out of Humboldt. But it just has that connotation of, like, Humboldt negativity. And I do love Humboldt, so I changed it to step out of the hurry, because that's the main focus of it. Is you're out in the world and it's busy, it's messy, especially once 2022 hit. Everyone was like, let's get back to normal, and that happened fast. Like, people were like, let's bring back everything we used to do and more.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, it is getting really, really fast. And to have a place where people can come in, whether they're spending 5 minutes or literally 5 hours. Like, we've had some people stay there for a really long time, like, just to come in and experience some sort of rest so that they can go out and just continue doing what they're doing. And that's, the name Harbour. You're never supposed to stay at the pier or at the dock. You're supposed to get some rest, get what you need, so that you can go back out. And that's kind of our focus is I want people to come, I want people to rest, get what they need, and then go back out. And I think that just goes right back down to how we interact with and treat our employees. Is you're coming to a place that is really accepting and a place that is really understanding, that has a lot of patience, a lot of grace, and but we're not just letting you stay this. We're not just letting you like not work or not develop. We're also pushing you towards growth and development. But it's a safe place to do that. It's a place to try things, make mistakes, and grow, and then eventually
Go on your way.
Go on your way. And I mean, we have some employees that will probably be with us for a long time, and that's obviously fine with me.
Yeah, not a bad add-on.
Right, having a few people that really know their stuff, have learned. We have an amazing general manager. His name's Justin. He did we would not be where we are now without him. He was in the shop, putting the lights up, painting, like getting everything ready for us. Like we would just come in, tell him what we wanted, and he would like do it. And we would come in and help. But he was the one that was like, he put blood, sweat, and tears into that place. And we're really, really thankful for that. And like he's someone that's still with us, and he is he handles a lot of the culinary directing. He handles a lot of the ordering, and he helps us maintain that mindset of what we're all about. And he really does a good job of loving and caring for our employees. And yeah, just when our employees go through breakups and go through deaths in the family and go through, but also the fun stuff, right? The weddings and we have a lot of that. We like knowing what's happening in our employees' lives and walking alongside them. And Justin helps us do that.
That's awesome.
And we've walked with Justin through all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So
that's an awesome perspective.
Yeah.
You don't hear that with a lot of businesses.
Well, they say like don't go into business with your friends.
Don't go into business with any friends you want to stay friends with.
Right.
That's the thing.
And that's and then there I was starting a business with my closest friends, and business is supposed to be bad for your marriage. It's supposed to be bad for your friendships, and
you made it work.
Yeah, so far. It's if I were unaware of it, it'd be stupid, But I know that that's a risk, and you have to know your risks, and you have to be intentional about making sure those risks don't become reality. And that's what I really try to do, not to be complacent to my risks, and that helps me be more efficient. But I can't take care of all my risks all at once. That's the hard part for me. Is there's always just a low level of risk and danger.
It's part of life.
It's just part of, yeah, that's for sure.
You just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. But so far it's been great. I went into this, knowing that was a big risk. I'm looking at it. We're not open yet. I'm just like, these are my closest friends. And we have a business partner, and he was he's still one of our closest friends, one of my mentors, one of Sarah's mentors. We love him dearly, and we had to make the decision, if Harbour fails, we're still friends. Like the business, we lose tons of money, like that's okay. We still have our birthdays, right? We had to be okay with that. Going bankrupt together before we could really step into this too. We had to be okay with everything else failing, but maintaining our friendship.
Was that a difficult conversation to have?
Yeah.
Because now it's not just you and your wife. It's now we've got our friend, and if this crashes,
right.
it's on our heads.
Yeah, and it's something that will bring me anxiety from time to time, and luckily our business partner is just an amazing person. So they are very understanding, very, very patient, and they they know that they've made that decision as well. So yeah, just having that mutual understanding, um, and even with everyone else, we have to, you know, even though we're friends, we have to be okay with firing certain people. And some certain people that work for us we're closer with than others, but we have to, at the end of the day, we have to be okay with firing them, and we have to be okay with, like say Justin. I'm very very close with Justin. If we were to fire him, we have talked. We'd still be friends. We've had like it's really weird. It's really weird to say because I never would, but I could. And um, that's the thing. But I never, um, we will definitely, if you will work with us, we'll work with you. It's just mutual agreement, and that's worked out for us for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem pretty big on this idea of being intentional. Is that something that you stumbled on just in the business, or was that kind of in you beforehand?
I've had a lot of intentional people in my life,
So
and
it's something you've kind of picked up on.
it's something I've picked up on. And I I'm like I I'm not like I'm not book smart. I don't read a lot of books, uh, but I am very observant. So I will watch how different um, businesses operate, how different people interact with other people. There's an idea of mentorship where it's relational. I'm very big into mentorship. So from learning from people, um, like mentorship is so much bigger than an older person investing in a younger person. It's older investing in younger, but I've also mentored people older than me. People older than me have learned something from me, and I've learned something from younger people. I interact with a lot of high school students and college students, and even junior hires. Like they teach me things too, and I think we have this, especially we have this divide of generations. And from a very young age, I learned to really respect, like, not just respect the person, but respect what this person had to offer me, and to always have like a learning mindset and be able to learn from them. And as I get older, I want to have that same attitude towards the people that are younger than me, learning from them, learning from their perception. Because I may have witnessed or seen things that have happened, but we have two totally different viewpoints. So me at I'm 27. I see in the news that a mass shooting happens. Sorry, I've brought that pretty intense.
Oh no,
but,
no.
but like
we can talk about whatever on the podcast.
That's cool.
Nothing's off limits. Yeah.
But like, me as a 27-year-old perceives a mass shooting way different than a junior hire does, and we have two totally different perspectives. And even like whatever it is, it could be political, it could be humor. I was told recently that I have boomer humor. Like I'm a really funny person, but like I still want to learn what like the younger generation finds funny. But like it's just how we perceive, like we've got the world in front of us, but we're perceiving it like totally different, and at different ages and different backgrounds and different upbringings. And I always want to be open to learning from all of that. So going back to intentionality, that's what I've experienced is like the more intentional you are in your relationships. That's where I was with the mentorship. There's that person to person mentorship, and it's way bigger than just older to younger. It's all
Yeah, I don't
generations,
believe in
all
that
people,
line of age.
and like male and female too. Like there, I was raised, men mentor men, women mentor women, and no, like gender is a thing too. Like you can learn from all different people.
Yeah, I don't believe
Like
in that line either.
right,
Yeah,
it's just
I've had some of the most impactful people in my life have been women. So when people
right,
go to that and they're like,
yeah,
they just brush it off. I'm like, oh, you are missing out on so much, man.
yeah.
Or whoever, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and so people that are closed-minded and won't like listen, they might be good from mouth to ear, but you really got to let it sink in. You got to let it go to your mind. You got to let it go to your heart, and you have to really like you have to you have to learn how to listen listen to things, but you have to listen for things. You have to be like, okay, like they might have said this, especially in conflict. You have to listen past the insult someone's throwing at you. You have to, um, you just have to, because it's coming from somewhere. So even in conflict, I'm listening for, like, okay, what is really being communicated, and um, like I had to get on one of my employees, and I had this conflict. I had a conflict. I'll go into a little more depth.
Oh, we're going
It's a
in.
fun story. Let's go into that.
Is this the employee that was fired?
No, it wasn't the employee that was fired. But I am really bad at keeping track of. I've got so much stuff going on up here that the little things like keeping track of receipts um, is lost on me. I'm horrible at keeping track of like the paperwork side, and it's something that I have to work on. And I lost a few employees' reimbursement receipts, and they weren't upset about the money lost because it wasn't like a lot of money, but they were upset that was not intentionality. They gave me a receipt, and what was loving and intentional to them was reimbursing them, keeping track of it. And it might sound really funny, but that was important to this person. So I had to, I I could have been like, it was like, I'm horrible at keeping track of stuff.
Yeah, just kind of blown it off.
Yeah, maybe it's your fault you didn't turn it into me the right way, or I could have passed it, or blown it off. Yeah, for sure. So, but in that conflict, I had to listen past the offense and realize like um, because what was in front of me was you didn't reimburse me. But what was behind it was you don't care for me because you weren't intentional about returning. Like it wasn't loving or caring that you received something from me and you just lost it, you know. And I was good at returning other people's receipts, but I didn't return theirs, or reimbursing theirs. So I really had to listen and understand, hey, like even down to reimbursements, like I have to be intentional about like like I had to be intentional about making sure that even in the small things that can communicate my care and love for my employees. So that's like I don't even we're
Just
getting on
one of those
tangents here,
learning
but
life
yeah,
lessons
life lessons
of
that
how to deal with
yeah
other people,
yeah, and within mentorship, like that's huge. Like you have to be working with people and be looking at more than that. So um, with that, um, as we're talking about intentionality, I also take that mentorship can also be impersonal. So you can watch a movie and be mentored by the movie. Influencers are huge right now. So
That's an understatement.
exactly. So on TikTok, you're being mentored by someone who doesn't even know you. And so that is something that I'm always trying to learn from people that specialize in something, or just watching how they put intentionality into what they do and taking that kind of mindset and applying it to what I do.
So you're big on just learning.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from a book, but from the world.
Yeah.
You're just paying attention.
Exactly.
That's a good way to learn.
It is a good way to learn.
Yeah.
Because books have failed me. Like I can't. You know, they work for other people, but it doesn't work for me. And I wish, you know, I wish I were better at reading. But I'm just not.
Is
And
it? Can you sit still? Is that the problem?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I think I think that's there's a whole, you know, people are probably rolling their eyes right now about it, but it really is. I sat down with people who who had it, like really have it, like diagnosed by a doctor, psychologist, like they have it. And then I sat down with a few friends of mine who are psychologists and doctors, and like I really was made sure that like, yeah, like as I talked to them, like I totally have it. And then I went and got diagnosed myself, and it has allowed so many things to fall into place. Like I'm like I totally get like the whole receipt,
Having ADHD has helped that?
like realizing that I have it.
Okay.
So like I didn't know until like a few months ago that
Oh, so
like
pretty recent.
pretty recent. And so I've had to confront that, and it's been really funny with Sarah because she, you know, we've been married for 7 years. She's been married to almost not two different people. Like I'm the same I was for the whole 7 years, but she's relearning how I communicate now because I'm aware of it, and I'm I'm not just letting it be an excuse. I'm actually handling it and putting tools around me to develop as a person and improve my communication and improve my like our meeting today was in a calendar. I never would have put it in a calendar. You know, I'm putting things around myself to help me be more successful. Um, and it really stemmed. I read one page of a book.
That's all you need.
Yeah,
Yeah, just the
exactly.
back cover.
Yeah,
You're fine. You can get
exactly.
the gist.
And that one page said, "Here's what ADHD looks like, and here's how it will ruin your life." And I was like, "Yep, that tracks. That tracks. That tracks." And I'm being like when I'm reading this, I'm in a place where like things are going okay, but I'm seeing where the dangers are, and I'm seeing where I can improve. So I'm like, I could be way more efficient if I actually figure this thing out. So it was hard. It was hurtful. I've had to apologize and regain trust. You know, Sarah is she's getting used to like I'm making fewer Amazon purchases. You know, impulse is a huge thing. So I'm making less impulsive decisions, and she's learning to trust that like that's how I operate
You're
now.
not just gonna
You
go
know, I'm not just
on a
gonna
buying
go
spree.
on a buying spree. You know, it's not perfect. Like I will make stupid purchases or, you know, binge on popcorn or something. But like, you know, like she's learning to like get to know how I communicate now, and communication was huge. I'm communicating a lot better, and she's getting used to like um, me actually saying what I mean and meaning it. Where before I was like just had so much anxiety, I wouldn't really say what I meant, and so she'd have to pry and try to figure it out.
Try to decipher
Try to
where
decipher.
are you actually going here.
Yeah, so I'm really like it is really, she's really been gracious and like yeah.
Are you taking
Yeah.
any medications for that?
So I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on Adderall. And
It's got to feel good, huh?
it does. It really does. And it like I don't really feel because it's Adderall is for me.
It slows you down, right? That's the
yeah.
whole process. Is if
That-
we give you some speed, you're gonna mellow out a little bit.
Exactly. And it makes sense because when I drink coffee, I actually calm down. So that's common with people with ADHD, and I never really like I could drink a cup of coffee at 10 p.m. and sleep. Like it's just I never really understood it until now, and that's actually common. So that's something that I've realized, and so when I probably the first I started taking it, and I went on like a week long vacation, and so I like the first day, the thoughts were going so there was usually a noise in my head, or it was either noise or like just constant thoughts coming in. And then after taking it, that noise was gone and thoughts were coming in like way slower. So I'm able to like things will pop in. So it become a lot less funny because
That's
part of my
that's
charm.
that's a side effect they should have listed on the side of the bottle.
Yeah.
Don't take if you want to get into comedy because it's not going to work out.
Humor is decreased.
Wow, that's interesting. Just because the thoughts
but
aren't coming at you as
I
fast.
can and I can catch it. Like I'm less inclined to say something stupid, and
Shit,
like
that's 90% of what I do here.
exactly.
Just say something stupid.
So I'm sorry to disappoint you.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
thoughts come in slower, and I'm able to process those thoughts quicker because there's less going on. That whole concept of slowing down to go faster, you know, and so things have slowed down so that I can be more efficient and process things actually faster because there's not as much going on. So it's been life changing. So I mentioned that vacation. So we're on vacation and we had like a 5-hour plane ride, and usually on a plane ride, I hate planes, but so there's like tons of anxiety in there. So that would even increase like just like okay, I'm watching a movie, trying to I'd use it as an opportunity. Okay, I'm sitting for a while, so I can probably read a book. No, like I would listen. Sorry, I would start a podcast, listen a little bit, switch to music, watch a movie, read a little bit, like just all these
just jump around.
Just jump around. For this flight, I did a crossword or multiple crosswords for like 5 hours, just focused. And it was like I've never been able to focus on something for that long, for that amount of time. So like that, yeah, just totally
night and day difference.
Yeah. And it's it's really I was really uncomfortable with taking medication. There's a big stigma around it. And it's especially that like Adderall has been so abused.
And heavily stigmatized.
Heavily stigmatized
now.
Yeah. So I'm a very open person, so I have no problem saying that I take it and joking around about it, which I probably shouldn't do. But like I'm very like everyone I know knows that I take it. Like I'm okay with that. But it was something going into that I was really afraid of. And so I was trying to, I'd keep a calendar for a couple days and then just totally lose track of like just kind of like, you start a diet and then 2 days later you're like, okay, I'm done.
Just binging in and out. Yeah, I know
exactly.
the feeling.
So that's how keeping a calendar felt. And that's what would happen. And so one of my friends with ADHD, he said it's about he was it's made up like 70-30 or 80-20, like just it's like you said, it's like 70% medication, 30% tools and planning. So the medication slows you down enough to where you can put tools around yourself to be successful. So that's what I'm really focusing on is I want to use the medication so that I can put the things around myself to be more efficient and more successful.
It's like giving you a floaty in a pool.
Exactly.
Like we're a little tired. We're just going to take this floaty and that's going to keep us up.
Right.
Okay.
And then I just went off it for like 5 days, and
just to see what happened.
And I felt so good,
good off of it.
Yeah, good off of it, like because I had been slowed down for like a month or two. I could tell that I had habits already built, so when I went off of it, I had things around me that were carrying me even though I wasn't on the medication. So I was used to having a calendar. I was used to a way that I communicated. I was used to having less anxiety. Like my anxiety has gone down a ton. Like making a phone call or doing this, like I'd be freaked out. Um, but I'm not anymore. And so that's like, and I'm still processing that. I don't exactly know why that is, but it, I think it's just allowed me to, like I said, just put things in place so that I can handle life a little easier, a little more organized. And I think
Is
that's,
that the usual plan with that? Is to take the medication just for a short period of time and then get these tools in place and then wean off?
I don't think so.
Most people stay on the
Most people
medication.
stay, and I'm
Okay.
staying on it because I definitely wasn't as efficient and wasn't like it. I definitely needed to go back on, but my doctor recommended that I I do take breaks from it. So that's what I did, and I could definitely tell the difference. But I definitely wasn't as efficient and as like focused as I am on it.
You just
So
didn't spin off the walls
I didn't spin off
because
the
you had those
walls.
tools.
Yeah, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Is
So
that
I don't know if that's common for other people. I haven't heard
Yeah, I
that.
don't know.
So I'm very
You're
new.
the first person I've met that actually was prescribed Adderall and is taking it. I've met a lot of
Yeah.
people using it for other reasons, but not
Yeah.
prescription wise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd be curious to what they say too, how
Yeah.
it affects them.
Most of the time what I get is that they're cracked out
Yeah.
for, however long they get done whatever they need to get done and then they don't really remember what happened and then they crashed.
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh, all right, I
Sure.
guess." I
Yeah.
mean, I hear
Right.
that it makes you incredibly productive.
Yeah.
It does that.
Yeah. And it's a danger. I
A
mean,
lot of college kids I knew took that.
right. Yeah.
Get
To
through college.
study and get
Yep.
through college and
Stay up for a test.
yeah. Oh, for sure. And I'm probably taking way less than they would at a time.
I believe
And
that. And you're
yeah,
probably not mixing it with alcohol at the same
not
time,
mixing it
so
with, yeah, I'm very,
a little different realm.
yeah, I love caffeine. I have to be careful how much caffeine I have with it as well,
Because it'll
that
mess up that
it'll mess
balance.
up. I don't know what it does. I probably should know.
That's interesting. I would have thought
look
it'd
look
mellow you
into
out even more, like a higher dose of Adderall.
right. It I think so. I think it does. But I'd have to research that and figure that out. Now I can read, so like I've been scrolling through TikTok of different influencers on TikTok about ADHD, and one of the I probably should give them credit. I don't remember their name, but basically it just was one person, a person who didn't have ADHD was reading a paper like an agenda, and then the person without it, or the person with ADHD was reading the paper, and the paper had sections of it cut out, and the person was like, "Don't you understand this agenda?" And like the ADHD person is like looking at it and just can't like there are pieces of the paper missing, so missing information. And someone who doesn't have ADHD can just read and process and understand quickly.
Because you've got all the pieces.
You've got all the pieces, and we're just like,
What is happening?
what is it? Yeah.
What is this?
People hand me papers sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. If they tell me step by step, and I can focus on it, it's a lot easier. Like I'm a phone caller. I'm
Oh, I
bad
can't do text.
I can't text.
I've got hundreds of unanswered text messages.
100%.
I just
And
don't respond. I'm
yeah.
like, listen, I don't have the
Yeah.
bandwidth. We gotta
And-
figure something else out.
And that's really hard because people take it personally. And I have to, that's another intentionality thing. Like it goes a long way, and you have to, I think it's maybe a pride thing why we don't, but like it really does go a long way. Even though if you left someone on red for like a week and a half, it goes a long way just to say, hey, I saw this, and I don't hate you. I just I'm really busy right now. And they might come back and say, well, it really doesn't feel like you care about me because you left me on red
Yeah.
for so long. But it does still go a long way. I think before medication, I'd just be terrified and afraid of, arguing with someone in your mind. You're already assuming what they're going to say before they say it. So that was often the reason why I wouldn't reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm really sorry I missed this text. Like I was just really really busy." And I'd fear what they're going to say instead of really just giving them a chance to respond and forgive, or heck, if they still have a problem with it, let's work it out. So I think it goes a long way just to, to
Just say,
reach out and
hey,
say, "Hey, I'm sorry.
my
I
bad.
didn't mean it. My bad."
I do not do that.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
I've built a persona, like people.
Oh yeah, I've trained my friends. My
Yeah.
friends all know that if
Yeah.
they get a text from me within a week, it's a great week.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people are good with that, and some people
Do not like it.
Yeah,
Or
and
not
they're
fans.
like, you're flighty or you're irresponsible, or and that is what it is. But it's really not our intention.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
excuse is always, if it's important, I will be there. Like if
Oh,
you call me
absolutely.
and say, "Hey, I need you," I'm
Oh,
there. But if you
100%.
text me,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
good luck.
Oh yeah.
It might just go unanswered into
Yeah.
the void.
And if the text exceeds the screen,
Yeah, then you just check
I'm
out. You're
just
like, there's too much reading
no way,
here.
dude. Like
Yeah.
I cannot do that. So if I see a big text, I'll either I have my master's, or I don't have my master's. I've got bachelor's degree and my first year master's done. Then I'm taking a little break. But the um what was I gonna say? Going to school taught me how to, when I wasn't good at reading. I would have loved Adderall in college. It would have helped me out so much. I didn't even know people, till recently. You don't notice how many Priuses are on the road until you buy a Prius and then you see them.
Yep.
So I'm on Adderall now. I'm familiar
Like,
with all
hey,
the Adderall.
everybody's on it.
Everyone does it, whether recreationally or, for medication. I mean, we don't have to talk about drugs and all that right now, but in college, I learned how to look for the important information. So, I'd never read the books assigned to me, but I learned how to read the book to get the information I needed to write the paper. So that was, in a text. That's how I will approach a message. I'll look for the information that's important and then disregard the rest. Or I'll just call them and be like, "I got your text. Will you please just
give me the highlights.
Yeah,
I want the quiz notes for this."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Were you worried at all when you got on it that it would change your personality, kind of tweak it in a way that you didn't want?
Well, yeah, because humor and my goofiness and my just kind of my
Like playful character.
yeah, it turned into, because it had gone so long undiagnosed, it just became a part of who I was, and I was accepted for who I was, and I was accepted as the goofy, flighty, irresponsible, somehow gets things done, but also you can't really rely on him to turn in his receipts. I found a lot of identity and safety in that, in who I had become, because I was endearing. I'm a fun, happy guy, and people don't like disappointing me. People don't like when I'm bummed or angry or upset, and so it became like I would get away with a lot more than the average person because of who I was and who I became and who I could be. And some of that was a lot of it was innocent. I didn't know I was doing that, but I realized that I was someone who just I became someone who I was who I was, secure and confident in who I was, and me and other people learned how to
just get
by. And so that was I realized a little bit of it was before and a little bit after. Before I started realizing, I really started to see after I read that page, Like, it's really
That
funny.
one page.
That one page. Like, that's just crazy.
Moral of this podcast is going to be just read one page and it's going to change
Literally.
your life.
Exactly. Like, honestly, that's a good point. Like, just, you don't have to do it all at once. Just do a little piece.
Just take a baby step.
Take a baby step. And that's, like, I bought a whole book on Amazon about ADHD because I was curious, because I had started to see some signs. And then I read one page of it, and then that just set it all into motion. And so I kind of started seeing those patterns. And then once I was aware of it, I started to see the Priuses on the road. I started to see the ways that I was letting people down. And I've, like, my eyes were open to that, and some people started coming to me with things, and conflicts would always happen, but I started to see, like, oh, like, that's why it's happening. Like, I'm, part of ADHD is, like, not staying consistent in friendships. Like, I'm a really friendly guy, easy to get along with, but going deep in relationships is really difficult for me, and that's common in people with ADHD. So
Now, why is that?
I don't know. Like,
just these surface level relationships.
I think as intentional as I am, I think intentionality is difficult in relationships. I think it's a lot like.
Well, it's easier to be flighty, right? If it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Then we could just text a little bit, have fun, go out.
Exactly.
But it never has to become like commitment level,
right.
where now it's a daily thing I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and I think that's probably most evident in my marriage. Like we have had to work really, really hard to stay connected, and I think it's been even harder on my wife because I am so flighty and hard to nail down and hard to just get a serious conversation. And sometimes it would happen, sometimes it wouldn't. So that was, to she's been incredibly loving and patient. So that was something that I think was just really, really difficult, and something that I'm still learning to do better is, all right, I think when she wants to go take the dogs on a walk, it's pretty clear to me that she wants to talk, and she wants to catch up. And it could be about nothing at all. Like, she just wants to talk about life.
Just to hang out, yeah.
But it's so terrifying because I know, I don't know. Like, it's just really intimidating and scary to me. Do I love my wife? Yes. Do I love talking to her? Yes. Do I love the intimate connection we have when we do have those deep talks? Yes. But something about it is just...
It's almost like that expectation that we're going to talk makes it work.
Dude,
it's different if you're just playing video games and she sits down and you start talking. But it's the expectation of, we're going to do this thing and now we're going to talk. It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, and that's we did that last night. That was I sat down on the couch and she asked me to sit closer to her. And that just drove me crazy because I wanted to sit down where I wanted to sit down. We do this with food too. I make 5 chicken nuggets. I want to eat 5 chicken nuggets. So she takes it off my plate.
There's going to be hell to pay tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
so
100%. Oh, no, keep talking.
I sat down where I wanted to sit down, and then she had an expectation of me. She had an expectation of me, and that intimidated me. And it was literally just sitting a few feet closer to her. But
it's interesting though, right? Like, why would that intimidate you?
Because you open the can of worms.
You open the floodgates.
You said
now we're talking. Then what if we start talking about something I don't want to talk about?
Exactly. Like, we're talking about getting health insurance.
And that's a big conversation.
Right. And we have not getting health, but changing
your plan or something.
Yeah. I mean, I have ADHD. I don't know what she was talking about.
You're like, I was just sitting there. Right. I was trying to eat my chicken nuggets.
Exactly. So yeah,
So she's had to put up with a lot. But aren't you worried at some level?
What?
Right, your 7 years got you to where you are today, right? And all that was with ADHD? Was there
Yeah.
any fear of, hey man, am I not going to be as efficient? Am I not going to be able to do what I've done to get here? Because look at where you are.
Yeah.
And all that had ADHD along with it.
Right. Partly was because I've had amazing people helping me out. I don't think anybody else has had to, like, we all find our roles, like,
Just in
and so
life.
just in life and relationship. So, Sarah, uh, she does the financial side because finances and my brain don't get along. Math, I can't. You could ask me times tables and I could not tell you. Fifth grade, sixth grade, like my mom was beside herself trying to get me to memorize my times tables. I couldn't. Like I worked so hard to get those, couldn't get them. So like numbers is tough. Like I just have these things that are impossibilities for me, um, and like I could take an open book math test and probably still only get a C. Like that's how bad I am. So
Open
with
book math test.
seriously, dude, like the yeah, testing is
Hard.
nuts. But anyways, uh, with Sarah and the 7 years of marriage and being um, like I have my strengths, and like I've built my strengths and like um, yeah, the people around me, and like Sarah's just been incredibly patient and loving and had to deal with so much like just crap because yeah, but and she would say this if she were in this chair, she would say the same about me though. I've had to deal with all of her crap. It looks different, but it's that I was talking to someone today about that choice. Um, the hardest part in marriage is making that choice to trust and to love. And I've made that choice to trust and to love Sarah. Um, and that a lot of that trust is trusting her to love me back. And so that's the most terrifying part, to trust someone to love you back and deal with your crap. So that is something that we've learned over our 7 years is we trust and love each other no matter what, and we've been able to withstand like deaths in the family, divorces happen over finances, like, and I've been so like I told you about the impulse thing, I've just really like super um impulse like made some stupid just nothing like big. I didn't go buy a boat or anything like some
You're not
people
rolling
do.
around in a new Ferrari or
No,
anything.
no,
Yeah.
not at all. But I definitely, uh, but maybe you know the the little things add up. So maybe that's even worse than buying a Ferrari is building a um, a habit of making small irresponsible purchases. So that can probably be just as hurtful
Yeah, over the long scheme, right?
over a long scheme.
What has
So
she said about this change in you? Being a witness to it so close.
oh my gosh, so we went on a walk, probably like shortly after I was on it, but I had kind of started to develop things, and so like um,
Develop things being developed tools.
develop tools and
Okay.
stuff. So she asked me a question about something, and I started talking about that thing, and then another totally like rabbit trail, like tangential topic, like jumped into my mind, and so um, I was talking about this thing. Then that thing popped in my mind, and I verbally said, "Oh, this. I want to talk about this, but I'm not going to talk about this right now. Um, but we'll come back to it." So I finished my thought, then revisited that thought, and then talked about that. And she was like in tears because she had never seen me be able to do that before. So she was just like, she's been um, incredibly like supportive in this process. And she is just amazed at the change. I was told usually people that start medication, they either they either notice it themselves or others notice it and then they don't notice it. And I've had a balance of both. I've been very aware of how I've changed, but others have like totally noticed,
Reinforce
especially,
that.
oh yeah, for sure. So she, like that side of things, like she's just amazed, and she, like that has been, she's been totally just blessed by seeing that. You see someone you love really get well, get better. And then, but on the other side, she's having to relearn me. Like like I said earlier, like I'm the same person, but just I communicate almost totally different now. And I'm able to actually just like say what I mean and be more straightforward. Um, like, like last night within our conversation, um, I told her like pretty much verbatim, I don't want to hang out with you tonight.
Damn,
that was
way
really
to come down.
that was
John's coming down with the hammer.
right.
I don't want to hang out with you tonight.
Yeah, like we had a really rough day. And
Rough day with each other, just
no
work wise.
just work wise, and I didn't want to talk about health insurance. I didn't want to be expected to sit close to her.
You just wanted to decompress.
I wanted to go to a Crabs game, have a beer, and maybe invite some of my buddies who aren't gonna ask me about my feelings. We're just gonna freaking hang out and watch a game, have a beer, have some food, and just just nothing serious. I just needed my mind to rest. And so that part of ADHD, like the mind restness hasn't, like that won't go away. My brain is still my brain. But the being able to communicate what I need is much, much easier, because I probably would have hung out with her or done something, or maybe even gone. Well, so it's funny. I ended up hanging out with her that night. So we but we had this discussion to where like I was on my phone and I looked up the craft schedule, and she was like, "Oh, are we going to like?" I interpreted. I don't know what I heard her say, and she might have.
This sounds like you guys got into an argument over this idea.
Yeah, if you want a successful marriage, you have to learn how to fight. You can't avoid a fight. You have to learn how to fight.
Wise words.
So that is like huge for us. So we.
So you looked up this crab game.
Well, I looked up the
crab game. She's asking
if
you're both going.
Right? Yeah. See, you're seeing the ADHD in motion.
I get it, man.
So yeah, she. Gosh, I look up the game. She sees it. She says, I perceive what she said to me as, we're going to a Crabs game tonight. And that shut me down. And that's how ADHD, or before medication, that's like how it would work. I would just get shut down and just be like, either my decision in that moment was, okay, I just won't go to the game. And I'll just figure out something to do here.
Because you didn't want to go with her.
Yeah, I didn't want to go with her, and I didn't want to. I just didn't want to deal with it. I wanted to avoid it and just be like, okay, we'll do whatever you want to do, whatever. I'm gonna put what I want aside and just bunker down and probably have just a crappy attitude the whole night.
Because you were looking at that Crabs game for you and your buddies. You already had this plan.
I was looking at it for me. Like I wanted to go. And that's what I wanted, and then everything else was around it. So I was like, okay, I could ask this person to go, and that doesn't feel like it would be work or hard because they're just chill dudes and
just gonna hang out.
Just gonna hang out, and then there's a whole nother dynamic about, like in our past, if I ever did it, like a lot of times, if we aren't intentional about our expectations about when we hang out with people or we go do something, then it kind of leaves it open to like I will focus on my friends and not really focus on Sarah, because you get used to who you're married to. You're with them all the time. You know, you're focusing on comfortable. So my intentionality is on them and not her, and that can piss her off.
Yeah, I was gonna say she probably doesn't take kindly to that.
So, but there are times where I've like abused that, where we're at a baseball game. Baseball's like very important in our on our honeymoon. We went and watched a Giants game. Like we're big baseball fans. So we, on our honeymoon, we're watching a game and I'm talking to some dude that's a few chairs, or a row behind us or something, and we're talking baseball and we're nerding out, and Sarah's sitting there like, hey, we're on our
honeymoon, and you're talking to some random guy.
Yeah. So, and I'll be like, what? Like, this is
what's the problem? We're just talking baseball.
That's what baseball is. It's a boring game, and you talk, and then the crack of the bat happens. You look at what's going on, and then you watch. It's foul ball. You go back to your conversation, and then they hit a home run. You stand up, you clap, you cheer, you get excited, and then more boringness happens. And you can't. I will never argue that baseball is not boring, but baseball is very, very fun, and it's very like relaxing because you don't have to. You're not engaged in like action is not shoved down your throat 24/7. There are rest points.
Yeah.
You have football that's just nonstop.
Like baseball's definitely a little more leisurely, or it can be at times.
Yeah.
Right. It's not action 24/7.
Yeah, and you set aside like good time for baseball. You set aside 3 or 4 hours. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
So.
And so she had this expectation or not expectation, but there had already been this precedent of you kind of being more intentional with other people around you guys.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of in my mind. Like, I'm like, okay, like she's inviting herself to the game, so I'm gonna have to pay attention to her.
And so you're like, just screw it. I'm just gonna stay home. I didn't want any pressure. That was the whole point of going to the game.
Right. Yeah.
Now
exactly.
I'm done. I'm just gonna eat it.
But then I was able to say, like, usually I would have just stayed there, but I was able to make that decision of just saying like, hey, like I didn't invite you to the game, and then we kind of talked around that, and then this is why, and we went back to like those times, apparently I was holding on to, and there were times where she was, we hung out at the game and we talked to other people. Like it wasn't every time, but I held on to those times, right? And I just in this, last night I didn't want that pressure, so I explained that, and then we got through that. She understood, and then I had to say, after talking it through, I'm down for you to go to the game. So once we got through that, she actually ended up going to the game with us, and my buddy came over, he parked his car at our house, and then we went to the game. We had a great time. It was awesome.
Was that just because she then cleared up that expectation? Like, hey, we can just go and relax.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be any big thing.
Yeah. It just cleared it up. So,
and you would not have been able to do that prior to.
It would have been much more difficult. Like, and I'm not saying that the medication or anything has, it has allowed me to, it's hard to explain. Like, it's not making me more honest, but it's giving me the ability to do so, and just like to really process how I feel, process how I feel, and then I'm able to just say it, and say how it is. I mean, it could be a ton of different things, but it's just helped me be able to work on myself and focus on things and build those things around me where I can be more honest, and I can be just more specific and have less anxiety about what I say. And I definitely don't argue as much with people in my head either. I give them a chance to actually respond. And I liked my response, and I enjoyed going to the game with my wife, and we shared nachos, and I talked with my buddy, and then I talked to her, or we'd talk together. Like, It was a good time.
Just easy.
Yeah, just really easy, and that's what I needed at the time, you know. So, yeah, just a silly example, I guess, but
No, silly example, but a good one, right?
right,
Because it's those small things, kind of like how spending money in small amounts, it adds up.
right,
Tweaking little things like that in those moments adds up, I think,
exactly,
and helps. I mean, especially a relationship overall, I would imagine.
right,
It's interesting, man. It's it, the allure of medication fixing all your problems worries me, but then
right.
there's the benefits of, man, sometimes medication actually does help
Oh,
you,
for
you know?
sure.
It's
Yeah,
not it's not black and white of, oh, it's all this, it's all bad,
right.
or it's all good, you know?
Yeah,
I think the big one is SSRIs, right? And depression and all these things, and
right.
you hear
Yeah, yeah.
about them changing people's mood and making them
Right,
bland or gray or just not
right.
themselves, and that freaks everybody out because nobody
Yeah,
wants to be that person. But
right.
then you hear stories like this, and it's like, oh shit, maybe the
Yeah,
medication might actually help your life a little bit.
exactly. Yeah,
It's just it's a hard balance, and you don't really know until you open up the door and find out.
right. Yeah, and yeah, I've really loved what
Been
I've.
good.
It's been really good, and it's a I don't. My faith is not in the medication. My trust isn't in the medication. You know, my trust is in the relationships that I've built and the ways that um I've grown, and the experiences that I have. And yeah, the you know that's where it lies. All the substances, that you know they're just even coffee. I've I've gone time without drinking coffee, while I'm making coffee for people. But I don't. Sometimes I just go off of it because I can. I don't. I'm not dependent on it to function.
A lot of people
So
are dependent on coffee
yeah,
or just
yeah,
caffeine. I mean, you want to talk about drugs? Caffeine's right
right,
there. How
yeah.
many people? How many people are actually addicted to that?
Oh my gosh,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
It is, yeah, and it's a very accepted drug. But yeah,
Do you do anything outside of coffee? Are you a psychedelic guy or anything like that?
no,
Nothing.
definitely not. No,
Clean whistle.
I'm pretty straight edge.
Huh?
So, smoked weed once.
Not for you.
Didn't enjoy it. Like it was, um, there was a lot of like peer pressure that went into it, and I don't think I enjoyed that very much. And just the taste and the smell and the feeling wasn't for me. I could definitely understand why it's appealing to other people, but yeah, it just wasn't my thing. I mean, I own a wine. You know, the other part of the coffee shop is wine.
Are
So,
you a big wine
um,
guy?
not really. I'll find like one type of wine that I really enjoy, so I'll sip on that for a while. Um, but like I do really enjoy it, but it's not like I don't nerd out about it like I do
Like
coffee.
coffee, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll drink wine, cider, a beer here and there. Um,
So are the
but
wines you selling at Harbour, are those just wines that you've tried, you and your wife, and you guys like them, and you're like, okay, we can put this out on display?
so that's where my business partner comes in. He's more of the wine side. I'm Me and Sarah are more of the coffee side, and we cross over. Like I'm trying to learn more of the wine, and he's learning more of the coffee. And
That's a cool
so
relationship.
yeah, it's so great. And that's how that's why we're in business together. We have such good give and take in our relationship. So yeah, we will. That's what we'll kind of learn, but we're and that trust. We trust him to especially like the wine's really expensive up front, and then you sell it, and then you're like, okay, we're good. But like, wine can be really expensive because you have to buy certain amounts of it. If I need if I need 2 bags of beans, two 5-pound bags of beans, I can buy 2 5-pound bags of beans. But he has to buy like
Like
a
a case of wine. Yeah.
yeah. So that's that is a lot of trust. He's like, I'm gonna buy this, and this will sell. And so that we trust him to do that, and then trust him. Like he'll go and go to different vineyards, and I hope to go one of these days.
I mean, we're in California.
Yeah.
You
Oh my
drive
gosh.
south, you've got the best,
Oh
some
yeah.
of the best wine in the world.
Oh yeah. And heck, even I love big shout out to Trinity River Vineyards. Like those, their wines are spectacular.
I will have to try that. I
Their
don't think I've heard of
Pinot
them.
is just
Really good.
yeah, it's money. It's so yeah, so good. That's the one lately that I've been. It's my standby. That if people ask what they should try, I'll tell them that, and then if I want a glass of wine, I'll drink that. It's
Is that your go-to as a Pinot?
yeah, yeah. It
Cool.
used to be a Merlot,
Okay.
um, but since we started the shop, that the Pinot is where I go usually. So that's been yeah, that's good. And we're trying to focus. I mean, it's pretty easy to be with wine. It's pretty easy to be like relatively local, uh, you know, and Napa area, and then Southern Oregon. We're trying to focus on those places, but we're also trying to find some exclusive stuff. Like my business partner, he went down, and I believe it's Brashley Vineyards, and they were just kind of they weren't doing they weren't like producing a lot, but he went down
like
there
a
and
small batch.
yeah, like kind of yeah, and so he went down there and tasted it, and then like we were able to get them, and we've been carrying their stuff. They came and did a wine tasting at our shop, and that's cool. Something we're trying to do is more and more events, more and more community things. And so that's been really cool to have different winemakers come and just have them talk about their wine. And so that was kind of something born of just going down and getting to know some of these winemakers that aren't maybe as well known as some of the others.
What is you guys' price point for wine? Even like the mid-range kind of wines?
Yeah, that's part of it. Like we're trying to offer kind of the whole spectrum. So if you want a really fancy, nice, bottle or glass, we have some of those options. And then we've got those mid-range options, and then some of the, our house wine is like really affordable, and we have a couple more options that are good quality, but they're not that,
Top shelf.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it can get expensive. Wine can get expensive.
Oh, it sure can. It's crazy.
Do you guys do a pretty good balance of wine to coffee?
Yeah, so it's pretty
Probably
good.
more coffee.
Yeah, more coffee.
Yeah.
I think coffee's a little easier. It's not as, even though we do it, maybe we prepare it in a more niche way. They, people, it's not as niche as wine is. We do carry beers as well.
Okay.
We have like 2 beers, and we offer Humboldt Cider Company as well. So we have some options for our non-wine drinkers. And yeah, our evenings are a lot more like laid back, chill, and we're trying to build more and more of our evening crowd. We do paninis and salads. We got a killer Caesar salad right now. Like, the same trust we give, Bailey. We try to give Justin and one of our main like chefs or cooks. His name's Logan, young guy, just really passionate about food. So he has, he kind of constructed this chicken Caesar salad. That's
Really
it's
good.
a Caesar salad, but
Hey, Caesar salads can be.
Yeah.
In college. I lived on a Caesar salad on this like flat bread.
Right.
And that was my staple most
Yeah.
days, and they're
Oh,
good.
yeah. It's really
I
good.
mean, little chicken thrown in
Oh
there.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, he roasts his own croutons and stuff.
Oh, he's serious. Okay, I think
Yeah.
where I
So,
got him,
like-
it was just like store bought croutons. I don't think they
Right.
were that fancy.
Yeah, so he does,
He's doing his thing.
Yeah, so everything we do is pretty panini's a panini. Some people have a hard time grasping that a panini means a hot sandwich. People have come in.
People struggle with that concept.
Yeah, they're like, your panini, your sandwiches. I didn't know this was gonna be hot, and our employees are like, yeah.
It's
That's
a
what
panini.
that's kind
It's
of
not a sandwich.
yeah, so they're like, can we have this cold? And we'll do it for them, but it's just
Oh, that's funny.
But like you'd expect the panini to be a panini, but you have a world of possibilities. How you construct it and build it, and so we've got a pretty good menu. We're trying to get creative with our specials. We've got we do avocado toast.
I saw pictures of
Like
that, man. It
those.
looks good. I'm a
It's
sucker
nutty.
for avocados.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I'll have to try that one.
So yeah, we've got avocado toast. We got this, and we use brio bread. It's just so good. So and then we have it's brio bread, and then goat cheese, apricots and blackberries, and it's just so good. Like that's our special right now. It's delicious. So
I'm gonna grab. Do you want a beer? I'm gonna grab a beer really fast.
Yeah, sure.
It's a little warm.
Yeah, I would love a water too.
Water.
Yeah.
Got water.
Sweet.
And we've got beer or sake.
Beer's great.
Perfect. It's a little warm in here.
Yeah, it's been warm lately.
I've not gotten dialed yet on the podcast with our temperature control. That's the work in progress. Because you can't have like a super loud fan in here.
Yeah.
Because then you're getting poor audio quality.
Right. That's a good point.
Okay, but walk me through this. How did you and your wife get into coffee? Because that doesn't seem like something people just stumble into.
Yeah.
At least outside of your canned coffee drinks in your Starbucks, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
How did the third wave start?
Really from, we were going to college, working at, we worked at a like a little drive-through coffee shop. That was our first experience with coffee, but it wasn't third wave. It wasn't like specialty. It was just pretty
Stop and go.
Yeah,
Basic run of the mill.
Yeah, yeah. So we definitely have an appreciation for drive-through coffee. Like it's a totally different beast.
Seems intense.
Much respect. Yeah. So it's really nice to have a a spot where it's a little more chill. But yeah, that was our first experience, and then we just in Reading there were so many, like there were 2 or 3 different coffee shops that were specialty, and we just grew to love. We kind of developed a taste for it, and then when we came back and we weren't getting that taste, we were like,
we need this.
We need this, and then we would prepare coffee ourselves, at home, and I still don't have an espresso machine at home, but I would do pour over.
I don't know what pour over is. What is that?
It takes about, it's a 3-minute pour, and then so you've seen maybe a glass or ceramic or a
with the
metal
design
filter
through it.
Oh no,
That's something different.
Yeah, this is just black coffee.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a little cone filter, and then you could put your cup underneath it, or you could put it's usually like a ceramic or a glass jar that collects your coffee. So you pour it over, and use a gooseneck kettle because it's easier to if it's a normal kettle, just has the hole, and you pour it, and you can't really control how much water distribution you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
It just all kind of comes out in a flow. But gooseneck allows the water to flow a little more calculated. So you pour it over, and you pour in a circular motion, and then your first pour is about 60 to 70 grams of water. Yes, I weigh it out. So I weigh out my
even at home you're technical.
Even at home, and for years, like I'm calculating my coffee for years. So that kind of love and intentionality with my coffee has always been there. So pour over. The first pour is the bloom, so it releases a lot of the acidity out of the grounds, and just it just gets the coffee ready for the rest of the pour for a nice balanced tasting cup. And something I learned, actually, I was pouring consistently just bad cups, and one of our baristas helped me realize that my second pour actually has to be faster. When you're like pouring and you're in a slow method, like you can get your mindset as okay, it's okay that it's slow, but actually I had to speed up my pouring, and it really improved. Like that little change improved my taste of coffee. So the second pour is about to 200 grams of water altogether, and then you kind of let it go down, but you want a similar amount of like gravity going through, and then the third pour is all the way to 350 grams, and that gives you about 12 ounces of coffee.
So
And
you
then,
throwing away the first two pours or just the first one?
no, the pours are going into your container.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
So
think I've seen a method similar to this, but only in tea, and they pour over the tea, but then
yeah.
I think they always throw out the first
Mm.
batch of tea because it's not as strong. So you pour it over once, throw out the first cup, and then you keep pouring, and that's what you're
Oh
gonna
wow.
drink.
Yeah.
Might
No.
be something totally different, but
Yeah.
that's what's coming to mind when I'm hearing this.
No. Yeah. Yeah. We keep.
So you're keeping all
Yeah.
of it
When
in the container.
Yeah. If we pour it over the grounds, we pre-wet the filter. Like we pour and wet the filter before we put our coffee grounds in, and we throw that water out, obviously.
So how did you get to that stage? It was just working in the coffee shop and getting tired of that coffee, so you started branching out a little bit, or
Kind of, yeah, yeah. It just was we we would yeah
and
we
you
would
and your wife were married at this point, and you guys are just
yeah I think so
okay,
yeah I
wow.
think so yeah
And so you kind of
yeah
cultivated this love of coffee together.
yeah yeah
That's
yeah.
interesting.
And I mean her standard drinks, she's more I mean if she drinks black coffee she'll put some like coconut creamer or almond milk or oat milk in it. But I love black coffee. Like even like I've got my own coffee shop, and I go into my coffee shop and I get a cup of drip coffee. The Columbia is tasty. I like it. Uh, 9 times out of 10, that's what I get. And if I want a little treat, I get a cortado, which is equal parts espresso to milk, and that's it. And that's a if I go to any other coffee shop that's specialty, that's what I'll get. I'll get either a pour over or a drip, and then a cortado. It's just
Hits the spot.
hits a spot. So that's what I'm happy with. So when we'd go out of town, we would get those at different specialty coffee shops, and just really, again, just learning. Like we went to one coffee shop, and like there was a barista that did something that I wasn't used to seeing, and I asked why he did that, and he got so excited. Like if some coffee shops don't like you to talk to baristas because it really is a focused, like
You gotta be locked
you got to
in.
be like we want, we really want our baristas to focus and be able to make a good cup. But I think, like, I love it when people are invested in the process. Our and it wasn't on purpose. It's kind of just what we this is what we could do with the space. Was our a lot of times the back of the espresso machine is facing the customer, but we had to put our espresso machine against the back wall, so it's all open, so people can see exactly what we're doing. So it can be intimidating when you see someone, you're like, oh, I know you know a lot about coffee, and they're watching, like they're literally watching you
This
prepare.
process
So
unfold.
it can get tough, but it's cool that we have, like I always love the restaurants where the guys making the pizza,
Right in
spreading
front
the
of you.
dough right in front of you. So I really like that aspect of their people are watching, and I'll look over when I'm making a drink, and they're locked in the process. So that's always fun to me too, that they're kind of sharing the experience, and yeah, ask questions, get to know like why we do what we do. And I really enjoy that. So that's kind of how we would, I'd watch and ask questions and learn, and then just apply it to my own coffee approach.
It's weird how things just organically form like that, right? You just get a job at a coffee shop, start making coffee, and then here we are 7 years later, and or however many. This was probably what 3-4 years ago,
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago.
and now you're making coffee
Now we're making coffee.
at your own coffee shop. How
It's-
crazy is that?
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's insane.
And what is your you are working on your master's, or are you taking a year off right now?
Yeah, I hit pause once we decided to go through with the coffee shop.
What is your master's
So
in?
strategic leadership.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't think
yeah.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah, it's actually one that it's at least when I like started it in like 2019, then took a break, and then I re-entered, finished that year, and then now I'm taking another break. That's I've experienced that's a lot of people with their masters. Like they knock out their bachelors, but their masters usually take a little more
Takes a
time.
little while.
But when I had started it, it was becoming more and more popular. I don't know where it is now, but like people, like tons of. I was talking to someone that worked for the hospital, and they were like, they were more in the admin side, and they were like, yeah, I'd hire someone with strategic leadership over a lot of different degrees, because you're learning how to lead people and deal with people and work with people, and I think that's really valuable right now.
So it's like a
Yeah,
management kind
yeah,
of
kind of
position that you would work
management.
into.
Yeah. So,
That's interesting. What made you want to do that?
uh, again, just to become a better
Leader.
leader.
It's interesting. What was your bachelor's in?
Bible and theology.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so weird
Yeah.
that near you are making coffee. Bible and leadership.
Yeah. Or Bible and theology.
Theology.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
And then
crossing the
strategic
two.
leadership is the
Bible and
master's.
theology with a. Are we talking about the Christian Bible?
Yeah, the
Obviously.
Christian Bible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you super religious? That's a loaded question, right? If you
yeah,
ask, are you super? What does that mean? Am I gonna?
It depends how you perceive me, I guess.
I'm pro-life. I don't believe. I
Right.
believe in all the commandments.
Yeah, I'm not a Republican.
Okay.
I think those two get really mixed up.
Yeah.
So.
Those two kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely.
Or at least are perceived that way, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. They have definitely intermingled and gotten really confused. But there are a lot of Christians that aren't Republican. There are a lot of Republicans that aren't Christians. So that's what I believe. So, but I understand that some people can't separate the two because there's been a lot of hurt and damage done. But I just try to live to my convictions and beliefs, and then let that show for itself. And then, yeah.
So are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I identify. It's easy for people to, like, that's the most simple, like a relationship with Jesus. I follow God like that.
What's the complicated aspect of that?
Because Christianity is so connected to so many different assumptions. So when you say,
oh, so that's kind of where your hesitation comes from.
Yeah, that's where my hesitation.
You hear
would be.
Christian, and it's like,
Right.
Okay, let's start connecting dots here.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I'm actually a pastor. And
wow,
so
this pod just keeps getting deeper.
I know. So
well, we started off with coffee. We should have started off with your wow.
Yeah. So I don't
a pastor making coffee. So are you giving out like sermons? Hey, here's your coffee. John 3:15. Ba-da.
No, that's definitely not.
Wow.
No, I yeah, my faith has changed my life. Like even we talk about, medications and like everything we just talked about is me, and my faith does have a big part to play in that. And that has what I've found has helped me, and that's important to me. But it doesn't have to be important to. I don't expect it to be important to anyone else. But if you're interested in my faith and how it has, like some people would come to me and say, like, how has Adderall affected you? Like I've equally here's how my faith has affected me.
You're open with it.
Yeah, I'm very, very open, but I'm not pushy. Like we just had, I don't know how long we've
We've
been
been talking for a while. It
Yeah.
never came
And
out. You
I'm
just
not-
dropped a bombshell.
Right, and I'm not hiding it. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it. But it
You're
doesn't.
not cramming it down people's
Right,
throats.
and I'm aware. Like when we say I'm a Christian, then all of a sudden assumptions come, and like so I'm aware that happens. So like it's not like I don't have to come on your podcast and just start preaching, you know.
Yeah.
But it is the lessons, the things that I've learned and been taught and grown. Really do have a lot to do with my faith.
So when you think of Christianity, what does that mean for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, yeah. I'm trying not to get too like preachy. So
Oh, we don't have to go there if you don't.
No, I don't. I just don't want to.
Oh, you can preach. I
yeah.
actually had a. Is it a preacher when it's the Christian church or pastor?
There's all sorts of different. Some go by reverend, preacher, pastor.
I had a pastor on, a while ago. Martin Tunzi, great guy.
Yeah.
And we talked all about it because I'm
cool.
interested in it. I was born and raised Catholic in the
cool.
church. Went to Sunday school. Went to church every Sunday.
Absolutely.
First communion, confirmation, the whole shebang, and then later in life, when I was living in Sacramento with my sister, I went to a Christian church for a couple times, and it was just fascinating seeing that switch that gets turned just from even that small separation, because Catholics and Christians are kind of siblings, you could say, right? And then seeing how they handled a sermon, and then seeing how the Catholic Church did it, it was just crazy seeing the difference.
It's so different, but it's so like I have a ton of respect. Like I'm more definitely, I don't listen to a lot of like hymns or stuff, but going into a church that does hymns and they worship they worship the same God that I do, but they do it in a totally different way. It's like so cool.
Totally different way.
Like I love it. Like it's it can be tough when people that are used to a church operating, then they come to your church and they're like, you should operate this way, and have to be like, well, that's not the way that we worship. We do more contemporary songs than hymns, and so like that. But we'll throw a hymn.
Do you work at a church too? Do you do service?
Yeah.
Wow, this really does keep going. Really, what church?
Faith Center. Yeah.
Oh no shit.
So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I do youth, young adults, and I help with worship.
Wow, so this whole theme of leadership is huge for you, because you're trying to help people on their journey, literally, in their faith.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and that idea of
what does Christianity mean to you?
Yeah, it is more than just a set of even this can get pretty cliche, but it's more than just a book of morals or a historical book, referring to the Bible. It's more than just a tradition to me. It's really a relationship. Like I do feel like my spirit like connects with Jesus. Like we pray and like I have a personal relationship with Jesus. It's more than just out of obligation or fear of going to hell or or whatever it may be. Like it's something that has been proved over and over to me through my relationship with him, and through just like through like personal relationship, through reading the Bible and prayer and worship and all that. Like I've just experienced Jesus on a level that I can't deny it, so and then if I want to live according to when you are impacted, when you're impacted by someone, and like I've been impacted by Jesus, I want to be more like him, and I want to live in a way that's pleasing to God, but also in a way that is following in his footsteps. So I, when I read scripture, and I see how, Jesus lived, I want to emulate that. The leadership that Jesus um, emulated, I want to emulate that. Like in his life, like when he was doing ministry on earth, he had his disciples um, baptizing people. Like Jesus was equipping them to do ministry. So that's how I approach. Like you can see that in how I run the coffee shop. I equip people to do work, to follow their
You've
dreams,
got
to
your
do things.
disciples.
And it's another hesitation is in I try to be diligent in keeping those two things, the church and my business, separate in a way where like there's no ownership. The only connection that Faith Center has um, with our coffee shop is me and Sarah. We work there, but we own this
You
coffee
try to
shop on
maintain
the
the
side.
boundaries.
Yeah, so I try to keep a very clear separation of what we do. And at the coffee shop, I'm taking the approach of of being a business owner, and just my faith affects my approach to people, but I'm not pushing them either way. I'm not, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air, because I don't I don't hire someone based on their morals or what they believe or their religion. I hire based on, can they do the job, and they're going to do it well, and are they going to learn, and the expectations that I have. So it allows me just to it allows me to be around people and grow from people who are different than me, but I can employ them without worrying about you know morals and all that. And that's to me, like at a church. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Like if someone volunteers at a church, you want to make sure that they're in step and in line with what you believe. um, but it can be difficult if you want to reach people. Sometimes when people come to our church, we expect them to already, I guess, have the moral mindset and the we for some reason expect them, and I'm talking about the church in general. I think Faith Center does really well at accepting a lot of people, but I think it's still a church, and people expect a church to, for the people that go to church for some reason, to have it all together and have everything figured out and look like they do, and look like, get kind of cultish in a sense of like, you have to look and act and or at least pretend,
That's a real danger.
Yeah, it's a
And
huge danger.
That's a danger that a lot of groups, not just churches, fall into.
Right.
That sense of conformity, and that you have to be, lock and toe of where we're going and our ideals. Like, there's no
Exactly.
room for you to have your own beliefs outside of it. Like, we're lockstep. This is
Right.
how we feel.
Exactly.
And we feel this way as a group.
Right. And people try to do it to me, like when I mentioned I had Dutch Bros in my hand, like
They want you to be about your
coffee and nothing else.
Anti every other coffee, and start shitting on all the other coffee shops.
Exactly. So, I listened to this podcast, and it's Christian. It's a Christian podcast. It's actually the creator of VeggieTales. I don't know if you've.
Oh yeah,
Well, he has a podcast, and he speaks to, like, him and a few other people. He has like a panel, and they just discuss like current events, and they have a really refreshing Christian view of like what's going on currently. And one of the things they criticized was a lot of Republicans, or like there's this like that a lot of people, there's this phrase of taking back America, and
make America great again.
Make America great again, and specifically the phrase of, and I've heard it, like I know that this is the mindset of some people, like they're saying, let's take back America, and like this podcast made the point of like, who you're taking America back from other Americans, like.
Or what does that mean?
Like, what does that even mean? Like they may believe differently, but we're still supposed to be unified in the fact that we're Americans, and historically we've had, you know, like, you know, we've had other people, I guess, try to take America, and we've been unified in that. But now we're trying to take it from ourselves, and that doesn't make sense to me. But I think that's built. I think that mindset. I don't think that's unique to Christians or Republicans, or we have this mindset today that we just we're against each other, and that's a mindset that I don't want present in really anything I do, and especially my business. Like, I'm not against anyone, and I want to be for everyone, and they don't have to believe the same way. Like, I would love for people to experience the same relationship that I do with Jesus, but Jesus let people walk away, and that's that was, but he was still consistent in their lives, and loving, and gracious, and that's what I want to. That's the part that I want to emulate, and I don't want to justify any bad behavior that I have by anything Jesus did. Like, if you look into, Jesus flipping tables, it was, if you really look into the context of that passage, it doesn't justify people getting angry or being violent. It's there's more to it than that. So I always try to. I'm getting kind of soapboxy, but
No, that's fine.
But I always just try to, I've been changed by Jesus, and I have a relationship with him, and I walk with him, and I want people to experience that from me.
You're passionate about it.
I'm passionate about it, but it's okay if you don't believe the same way I do. But I think people will probably want me to be a little more stern and a little more
forceful with it in a weird way.
But that's just not who I am.
That's a good thing.
I mean, I get fiery when I preach. I'm preaching this weekend, and I get passionate, and I will preach what God's telling me, and what I'm learning from the Word and the Scripture and what I'm studying. But those people are there because they want to be. Well, most of them.
Yeah, nobody's going to church because they hate church.
Right, exactly.
Well, unless you're
they've come,
a child and you're being forced to go there.
I'm hoping that they've come in the spirit of unity, and preaching to people who either want to learn more, or do believe in some sort of, they believe pretty similarly to what I believe, but I'm preaching to Republicans and Democrats and Green Party and everyone. Yeah, but we're unified under we believe in Jesus. And
do you feel like Christianity has been? Sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, no.
Do you feel like Christianity has been co-opted in a little bit of a sense, where there's this extreme group kind of trying to make it something that you don't attribute it to? Like, you hear Christianity gets a lot of rap for the abortion, right?
Yeah.
That's you think anti-abortion, you think Christians, and more so just religious people, because Catholics fall into that realm too. But it seems to kind of fall more on the Christian faith. Like, that's everybody's go-to. These Christians that are trying to take away women's rights.
Right.
Is that hard for you to kind of balance out, or do you have a pretty good separation of, no, that's not what I think the faith is? That's kind of like you get the radical left, right? Of these people trying to push it way farther and do these things, and you have people in the movement that say, no, this isn't us, this is a radical group co-opting whatever we want to be and making it this thing.
That weighs heavily on me, because I'm just I'm just me, and I can't change that. I feel like it's such a huge pull, and so many people and churches have just adopted that mindset that that you have to jump on these hot buttons and these issues, and then if you're not conservative, or if you don't say you're pro-life, then you're not a Christian, or you hate babies, or you you are supportive of murder, and you know that's the pushback is pro-life should be both, right? you should you should be passionate about both lives, and I mean, then you get into, like, you can just get into just so many different details of that, but um, I I personally believe that it's an issue that doesn't really belong in politics. I think it's bigger than um, than politics. I don't think it's going to be solved whether it's legal or not. Um, I think people should be, you know, in charge of their bodies, and women should have that right. Um, but we should, right? Like, it's just a general.
It just
Like,
makes sense.
it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's just weird to me that a group that pushes for personal freedom, and a lot of other things, like pretty much everything else, is really stickler about this one. And I think they're like, well, we're fighting for the voiceless life, so that gives them a little more fire.
And the cause of morality, right? Because you're
Right.
fighting for this
Yeah.
life that can't defend itself.
Right. So it's really easy to get caught up in that, and it's really easy to forget that the human um, that's carrying the baby, the human. That's important to remember, the human, um, and it's it the oh man, I had something pop in my mind, but that was good. But yeah, the
The choice of what to do in that situation is just.
yeah, it's
It
so
should
much.
be up to the person. I mean, you don't know
should.
their circumstance. You
It
don't
should.
know what.
Yeah.
What is going on there?
And it's as easy, like, there are people who have gone to get abortions and have decided not to, and have been very thankful that they didn't go through with it. And I would like to be a person who, like, if someone says they're pregnant and they're not sure if they should keep it, I have been in that situation of, like, not personally, not like my baby, but with other people saying, like, I don't know
What to do?
I don't know what to do, and just being there for them. Not having to go into, like, how dare you have this child, or
Try to chastise
them for
whatever decision.
It's already done. They already
Yeah.
did it, and and I know and it's a process that really hurts. Like, if I know people who have miscarriages and just been heartbroken over it, and it really does affect you, and making that decision does affect you, and whatever choice they make, I want to be there for them and not put up a wall. And that's what I feel like that's what the church has done, is put up a wall. So why would, if you choose to go through with it, or if you're even questioning to go through with it, why would you go to the church? Why would you go to Christians? And it's like, going back to your question, that's what's hardest for me, is knowing that you ask, are you a Christian? And unfortunately, that's what's been tied to it. And we've tied things to, like, Christ's name is in Christian, and we've tied things to his name that's not of him. And that really makes me upset. And that's really hard. That's why I live in a way that is reflective of Jesus, but I don't always have to wear it on my t-shirt, or Goofy, Christ-a-cola, or you've seen those parody t-shirts that's just, I don't, I go to a Giants game, I don't even wear Giants stuff, because I'm not there to be a fanboy. I'm not a Christian to be a fanboy. I'm a Christian because I have been radically changed by Jesus, and I believe in it for other people. But you have to be willing to receive it, and I'm not going to force you to do that. That's not my job. I believe that's God's job to do, and your choice. So that is, so back to the, abortion or LGBTQ, like all that stuff, like I believe you should be able to do, like if you don't believe the same way that I do and your conviction is not my same conviction, then you should, on a standard, like not on a spiritual standard, but on a human moral level, you should be able to do what you feel is right based on your moral code. And if you break a governmental moral code, like murder or, the things that are illegal that our justice system, I believe you should be held accountable to those things. But if you live according to a moral code that has been legalized by, the government, then go for it. Like I'm not going to say, I'm not going to stand on my soapbox and tell you you're going to go to hell. But, of course I want people, I do believe that, I do have, the answer to a freer life and a life without bondage or addiction or like I believe that my faith does have answers, and that it does mean people will experience an eternal life. I hold all the basic beliefs, but it's not tied to, and some people will be offended that, you believe that I'm going to hell. Like, okay, like, I I don't want to put that on you. Like but that is somewhat, what I believe, but that is, I'm not going to live in a way that pushes that on you. If you believe in your being that that's not true, then okay. But I'm going to live in a way according to my beliefs. And I hope that the way that I treat you and interact with you and love you, that's lost on a lot of Christians. Love is like number one. Like you can,
Yeah, it's touted a lot. It's just not
it's
practiced.
Huge. It's not practiced at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know tons of loving Christians, but if we're talking about Republican or political Christianity, then I don't see it. But like, yeah, and I mean, Christians should be involved with politics. Politicians go to church and some politicians don't, like, but, yeah, I would say that, yeah, we just, I don't know if I'm rambling.
No,
I'm just
I was following along your trend there.
Yeah,
It's just, it's an interesting thing. I think it's good for people to hear this perspective that you're giving, because it's one that isn't pushed out there as hard as the other one, right?
No.
That idea of why would I care? Just live your life. If you
Right.
want to go down this path, great. It's
Right.
accepting. We're here for you. If you don't, great.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. As long as someone's not being forceful with you, let people believe whatever they want to believe.
Right.
People believe in crazy shit. I've talked to
Exactly.
people that believe in crazy shit.
Right.
We all have. It's as long as you're not hurting somebody and you're not being an asshole, I guess, about it. Like, believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
You don't have to attribute it to these things and then make this what it is. Like, It's easy to take abortion and throw it in the Christian camp and
exactly.
Tag that on. But honestly, I've met a lot of Christians that are in the movement of it's not my choice. I personally wouldn't do it, but I don't think you shouldn't have access to it. I'm like, that's great. That's how it should be. Because if you think it's bad, don't do it.
Right.
And if you are in the position and you want to have it done, great, do it. Like what? There doesn't have to be a separation from that.
Exactly.
Just do what you need to do and what you are comfortable doing. Right. And then that's all we can ask of anybody. Right. I think it's just easy to throw people into a box.
Right.
And if the narrower and tighter you can compact that box, perfect. We're just
Yeah.
gonna
Oh, for
throw
sure.
everyone in there, and that's it. This is
Yeah.
what Christians are. They're shitty people that hate
Right.
women. And it's
Yeah,
like, what is
exactly.
that? I've met
That's not true.
the crazy
Yeah.
thing is, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's a little bit of both. I've met more people who are religious that are more accepting than people who are like far left or far right.
Yeah.
They're not. It's
Right.
like, okay, that's interesting because the stigma is that, oh no, Christians and
Yeah.
Catholics and these religious people are not accepting.
Right.
And that's not
It's
what I'm
just
finding.
no.
I'm sure
No.
there are. I don't want to take
Right.
away from that. There definitely are because I've talked
Oh,
to
for
those people,
sure.
but I've spoken to a lot of people that don't fit into that box.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to see.
It really is, and I think the fear is, if you don't take a stance against something, are you enabling the behavior? And I just don't think that's true. I think you can disagree with something and not practice it yourself, and that's enough of a testimony. Like, I you know I don't I don't I'm not dependent on drugs or even coffee or stuff. I'm dependent on my relationship with Jesus, and I hope that speaks to people. And if someone is addicted to drugs, I will help them walk through it, but they have to make the choice. Like we helped my wife and we helped someone get off of nicotine. We didn't really. I mean, there were times where I said, "Hey, this is affecting your life. Like this is hindering you." Like there were because we have built relationship with them, we were able to speak honestly with them. But it wasn't until they made that decision, then we were able to be like, okay, we'll help.
You can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped.
Yeah,
That's the biggest
right. And
lesson to learn.
If you do, you just push them away
And make life miserable in the process.
Yeah.
It's never, somebody doesn't want to be around you if you're constantly trying to say, hey,
exactly.
Maybe you shouldn't be doing this.
I've been, I was raised in the church, so I've experienced all sorts of different people that are in the church, and like there are some Christians I don't even want to be around because it's that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to talk about politics all the time. Sometimes if we're around a campfire, have a cigar and there are settings that are more enticing to have. Okay, let's go into politics and kind of
let's delve into that realm.
That's learning. I'm not going to read a political book, but I'll have a like this, a conversation where we can learn from each other.
One that's not imposing.
Right.
Exactly. We just stumbled on this naturally and started talking about it. It's not one of us sitting here trying to bash the other over the head with this idea of, no, you need to conform to this.
Right.
We got to chuck this box for you today.
Yeah.
Because who wants to have those conversations?
Right.
The idea that you can beat an idea into somebody and make them believe what you believe is just, it's absurd.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
History has proven that. We've learned that time and time again.
Exactly.
Forcing people to conform it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
Never pans out.
Yeah. Exactly. And if they do go along with it, if it appears to work for now, very commonly they'll look back in a few years and be like, "Oh, that was messed up." Like, So that's I think we have to be careful with immediate success because like starting a business, like we cannot rely on immediate success right now.
You can't rest on your laurels.
We got to keep
working.
We got to keep going, and then we're seeing business pick up, but we have to keep that going. We have to be hungry for more growth and stuff. So like we're still we're 7 months into a 5-year journey, so we just gotta keep with it, and that's what we have to remember as people, and in my Christian faith, and with the church that I serve at. Like we gotta remember that this is a long run thing, and we just have to walk according to what we're called to.
It's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the key. It's just endurance. I've had a lot of people. I know a lot of people who, we're 7 years into ministry, and we've seen a lot of people quit. A lot of people walk away. A lot of people get burnt out. Um, and that's what I have to, I try so hard to remind people, like, yeah, it's going to be really, really tough sometimes. Even in the church, Christians are not nice to each other sometimes. If you're dealing with people.
Is that the biggest conflict? Is that internal one for Christians? Because
Oh,
there's definitely a
man.
lot of external pressure, right? I
Right.
think that's obvious to see. But is there?
But yes, because I don't know, I don't really know exactly, like, it's not a quantity thing.
Well,
It's
one
it's
bad apple can spoil the
yeah,
bunch. That's the saying,
it's
right?
it's it's really a, like, if you're um if someone's outside of your circle, and they can, I really, at least for me, they can say whatever they want. They don't really get it. They don't quite understand. Um, if we're talking about, like, at the coffee shop, we get a ton of you shoulds, and
You shoulds.
you should. So you
Oh,
should offer this. You should have more
oh, people
flavors.
having ideas.
You should have this, and I love the ideas, and some are actually really good. But if you're not like working for me, if you're not close, or if you're not like in the world,
I'm shutting that off.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not inclined to listen to it. I'll listen to anyone, but I'm not inclined to put that into practice. But the people that are close, that are walking the journey with me, I'm going to listen to a little more. The people that are, like, and respect for, like, I'm making coffee a lot, but I'm not necessarily in the back of house. I'm not grilling paninis all the time. I love doing it. Like, sometimes we'll have someone calling sick, so it's up to the owner to hop in and
You're like,
go sleep.
yeah, it's
And
my time to
I'm
shine.
just like, man, it is fun. But that's not where I'm supposed to be all the time. But it's fun to do. But if they tell me they need new knives, I don't have to grab the knife and be like, oh, it's fine. I can say, okay, I'll order you some new knives, because I trust them, and, like, or we should expand the menu, and then we'll have a discussion about,
Well, they're
like,
close to it, right? They're in
so
it with you.
exactly. So when people in your circle start criticizing you and hurling insults at you, it makes it, because you're so used to listening to them, and you regard their influence as more, that's when it becomes really hurtful. So in Christianity, in the church, it hurts more when it comes from internal. Um,
Because then you have to accept, okay, there might be something to look at
there
here.
might be something to look at, or they're just so, like, why, like, there have been times lately, like, I really try to take everything and learn from it, but also there are times where I'm just like, they're like way off, like, they heard a rumor, or they heard something that happened, and they didn't come, like, I thought we had more trust. I thought they would have come to me and said, like, and I have had people come and be like, hey, like, I heard this, like, what's up with that? And I will say, oh, this is actually, like, this is um this is, like, really what happened. um and um and so, like, to have people that won't just go to you and just make sure, check the facts first, and then like, either understand and let it go, um or just be okay with, like, oh yeah, okay, like, that makes sense. People that, like, intentionally want to hurt you, that are in your circle, that you've built relationship, can, like, hurts more than people outside that just, they don't quite get it. They don't quite understand, and that's okay. And I have much more grace for that than people that do get it and should be operating in a way that Jesus would like. And then they don't, and so that gets really hurtful. So, but
Yeah, hard to
yeah,
balance that,
yeah,
right?
hard to balance. So that's probably the most difficult, and I encourage people in the church, and especially in leadership. Like, I mean, Christians are most critical of leadership, people in leadership. Like, when you step into Christian leadership, you're putting a target on your back.
So that's why that
So
explains your big connection to leadership, then, right? Is because you're
yeah,
trying to hone in on, okay, how
trying
do I
to
prevent that from happening to me? Let's
exactly
pull off the target. Let's just try to do a good
right,
job.
right, and that's, and it's hard because I'm 27. I've been doing it for 7 years, and there are
You've been a preacher from 20 years old.
yep, started at 19.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You knew at 19 that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, right at like senior year of high school, I pretty much gave up everything else and was like, this is like what I'm supposed to do. So
You just felt
I went
called to do it.
right into Bible college, and then and I think my sophomore year of college, I got a job at a church that was right across the street in Reading, um, and then yeah, we went from there.
Were you planning that before 19? Was that on your radar of, oh, this might be something I'd be interested in?
Yeah, like some sort of ministry. Like
You were kind of leaning that way.
I was leaning that way. I didn't know what it would look like. I definitely didn't think it would look like this. But that was where I was leaning. And tons of different opportunities in the church and outside of the church have been thrown my way, and that's I've had to sift through that and work through all that, and yeah, I'm really really glad that I am where I am. But at 27, I have 7 years, and been married for 7 years, so I guess I'm maybe going on 8 years of ministry and then 7 years of marriage. So yeah, like that's I've got a lot of schooling. Like we've had to grow up a lot faster than most people our age. So a 27-year-old that's not me is in a totally different place. But a lot of times people just see age and they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears and what we've had to go through.
Do people not
And
take you seriously when they see you for the first time on stage? Like if somebody
oh
new
yeah,
comes into the church, or they're like, why is this kid up on the stage? What is he gonna do?
yeah, and that is funny because the Bible says that. Like in First Timothy, the author of the book, Paul is writing to Timothy, who is a young preacher, and he tells Timothy, "Don't let anyone despise you because of your youth." And it's just
Is that your opening line?
and
Hey guys.
yeah, exactly. And that is like it can be overused. Like I can say people can come to me and be like, "Hey, like you made a mistake," and I can be like, "Oh, it's just because I'm young," or it can become a defense mechanism. But it's been a helpful verse for me. Um, and again, I don't force people to respect me because the Bible says to respect me because I'm young. When I feel like I'm limited, based on my age, it's a verse that's written to someone to endure when it happens. It's not like Timothy, you need to stop it from happening. It's gonna happen. Endure it. Keep through it.
Be
Don't
prepared.
quit because people despise you because you're young. So that's that's how I live. Like it's really fun. Like I've found that the Bible really does speak to me today, from a book that's been written thousands of years ago. It still is very very true to me today. And so when that kind of stuff happens, I know that I can withstand that. But I've always thought it would come from older people, but I'm realizing it also
It comes from younger people.
because they're envious of my position.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because I have been um, when you have experienced things and you carry yourself, like I used to have a bigger beard, people thought I was older. That really helped. But
I can relate to
yeah,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got tired of parents asking me where the youth pastor was, so I grew a beard, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, there is an adult here." But that was that was the having people younger have kind of that envy for my position when I'm just being trusted. um I'm just being trusted because I've been doing it. I've been very very faithful. The Bible also says if you're faithful with a little, God will entrust you with much. So like I have been faithful in the little times, and God has given me a lot more um just things to do, trust from other leaders, and people may see it as privilege or favoritism or whatever, but it really is just because we've been faithful through everything, and we're trying to steward that favor that we receive from people well. And but sometimes people can't see like, oh, he's 27, I'm 27. Why is he getting these opportunities and I'm not? You know, and you can't tell someone.
Hey, I've been working my
Yeah,
ass off for the
yeah.
past 8
Hey,
years.
you know,
Yeah,
I earned this,
I was
man.
19 doing this. Come on.
Yeah.
They don't want to see
just,
that.
no, and it is what it is. And so Sarah and I just have chosen, and this is like, you know, I hope no one's being like, oh, there's faith center drama or anything like it's just we've received this. We've worked at a lot of different churches and interacted with a lot of different churches and a lot of different people. So this is, I speak very generally because it's beyond faith center. It's really like a Christian culture.
Well, it's not even
You know?
a Christian culture. It's a life thing. If you are
Right.
young and in a position of power with anything, people will instantly want to dismiss what you're doing.
Right.
Just
Oh, yeah.
because.
Yeah.
Because they're envious, because they don't think that they could do that, or maybe they want to do that and
Right.
they're not. So then they're just going to write it off. Everybody does that.
We literally, if we could, we would leave our business. We have we have actually 4 or 5 people under the age of 21. And if we didn't serve wine, Sarah and I wouldn't have to be there at all. Like we just, because you have to have people over 21 with wine and stuff. So like they, you know, we really believe in younger people and their ability to lead. We just ask them not to arrive. You know, you've not arrived. You still have a lot to learn. You've still
Not to arrive.
like, hey, I've made it.
Oh, try to jump the gun.
I've learned everything that I need to.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I got it all figured out.
They want you to validate where they are now, and that they're good enough now, and they don't always want you to say, well, you're gonna be a good barista, you're gonna be a good cook, you're gonna be a good pastor. Like they want to know like they are doing enough now.
There. I'm there now. I've made it.
There's it's like I will say like you are good now.
But you could be a little bit better down the road.
Yes,
just
and we all can.
working.
I'm 27 and I've seen a lot, but I have not arrived, and I probably won't. You know, and I have that mindset, and I wish I had it younger. You know?
But I think that's where the fun comes in, right? I think if you actually hit that final destination, where do you go? Part of the fun is continually trying to get better. And whatever your craft is, whatever you're passionate about, the joy is taking those progressive steps.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit better tomorrow.
Yeah.
A little bit better the next day.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be as satisfying if you just hit that mark, especially early on. If you tried something, like if you were an incredible pastor right at 19,
yeah,
I mean, like, okay.
Exactly.
There's no incentive to get better.
No.
Because you're already right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that is, you know, having to listen to my voice. Like I don't even know if I'm going to listen to this. Like
I don't blame you. I would not
right?
listen to them if I didn't have to edit them. I hate the sound of my voice. I tell everybody that.
Yeah, but having to go in and be like, okay, like, you know, this like sermons, like if, you know, I say a lot, you're probably going to have to edit out like a ton. Like people have
no, it's all going to be in there.
Oh, nice. Oh, well, boy. Okay. Well, I'm sorry for whoever's
well, if somebody tallies those up for both of us. Yeah. That has been one of the biggest learning curves for me is, and I'm sure you can relate, having to speak in front of people.
Yeah.
Is you are constantly analyzing your speech and trying to improve it. I mean, when I first started these, I would say all the time. And then you listen back and you just you hate the sound of it.
Yep.
Why can I not put a full sentence together without saying
right,
or I don't know, or like?
Yeah.
Like was a big one. I'm still working on like.
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds, you want to say like.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, it's kind of like, and it just keeps coming.
Oh,
These weird patterns of speech that are acceptable for everyday life.
Right.
But if you're listening to somebody for an extended period of time talk like that, right,
like that,
it gets so annoying.
It really,
Have you done that with hearing yourself speak in front of people?
And
you just hate the way it sounds, and you have to start tweaking that.
I've people that edit because we live stream, and
that's a good idea.
Yeah, people that edit my sermons they'll pull. I only preach every once in a while, which I'm happy about. But they probably pull. I feel like they've told me like 5 minutes of just either dead space or like they've like edited like
Just
so
send
much
you
out.
the clip of it.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. But it's it's like, but as my point with that was, if sometimes you have to go in and deal with the discomfort of hearing your own voice and hearing the ums and uhs and the likes, and that's how you get better. And it's hard to do and it's painful. Um,
But it's how you get better.
but I before we talked about this, I wasn't noticing when I said and now I do.
And
Now
then
it's
it's at
really,
the front of your
yeah,
brain,
it's
and
at
it
the
almost
front
kind
of
of
my mind.
fucks you up when you realize it in the moment.
Yeah.
Because then each time you hear it, you hear that trigger.
Yeah.
And it sets you back.
Yeah. And I would say that I say it a lot less now, and it doesn't have to necessarily be at the forefront of my mind all the time, as I've worked with it, and I've gotten really comfortable with dead space. Like, you have to get comfortable with, if I lose my place in my sermon, or I have like, with ADHD, my mind can just go and I have to get it back. Just not saying anything is okay. It's a little harder when people are listening, but in a live audience, they will forgive you. Like, I drink a lot of water, and part of it is so that I can take that couple seconds to regroup and just find my place again and then go. And actually, silence can be used to contemplate. So if you're making a point and you say, da da da, if you move on too quickly, they don't really get that much time to really process it and think about it. But if you say something and you give them a little bit of time, if you really believe what you said is important, you give them a little time to process it and then you move on, I think it actually helps. Like in group, in youth group, we'll have group discussions, and I'll ask a question and I'll stay silent. And some of our other students or leaders will get a little uncomfortable, but what silence will do is it'll either cause someone to say something, or they're just thinking about your question. And if no one answers your question, at least they've thought about it. But if you move on too quickly and you don't let them think about it, then
it's gone.
It's gone. So, like, it's okay. Like, awkwardness, it's okay to be awkward sometimes and just let people think.
And let a moment hang. That thinking thing is a huge aspect. That's another issue I've had to deal with in this, because you hear that dead space and you instantly want to cover it up. There can't be any dead air. But sometimes a guest will say something and it requires a moment to consider what they've just said.
Right.
Sometimes I'll say something and then think to myself, that didn't sound right, and I'll have to take a beat to think about it. Because you're talking about things, and some things you haven't contemplated before.
Right.
Some things just require a little more air to breathe.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take that, to have 10 seconds of silence. It's not going to be the end of the world. That's a big learning lesson.
Yeah. And for sure, like, you said things that I've never thought about, and I've said things that I've never thought about. Like,
that's all part of the fun.
Yeah,
but you have to if you don't take the necessary time to actually think about what was just said,
right,
that moment's gone.
Exactly.
And you miss out on that.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes you maybe it changes a perspective, or maybe you have to rethink an idea that you held, or maybe something they said resonated and now it's going to spark this other tangent that you would have never gone on, but you had to take a beat to get there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can ruin. It could have been the thing that unlocks the could
have saved the world with that idea.
Could have saved the world.
Yeah.
But we messed it up.
Well, lucky for us, I don't think we did that. We can wrap it up. It's 5:00. I'm sure you've got places to be.
Yeah.
This was awesome, man. I had a great time, really.
Me too.
Do you want to plug Harbour, where people can find you, where they can find the church?
Yeah.
You want to plug all your stuff?
For sure. We've, Harbour Coffee and Wine. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Harbour Coffee and Wine. We do regular events. We're more than just a place to find the best coffee and the best wine and the best food. We are a place that really believes in community. Come hang out with us. Come spend some time, or swing in and grab a cup and leave. Like whatever your day throws at you, we're here for you. And so we have, we're open 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're open 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And our hours are online. I think the Google hours are up to date. So you have to request for hours to be changed, and sometimes it just
process.
You have to do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, our hours are current, and come try our stuff. We've got Mimosa Mondays, $3 mimosas, cinnamon roll Saturdays, because Bailey just loves bacon stuff. We've at least said, can you at least always make cinnamon rolls on Saturday?
Turn it into a day.
She graciously agreed.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've turned it into a day. And that if you want to have a reception, we've done a memorial at our place. We've done a lot of
you guys are up for
things.
whatever.
We're really up for whatever. And you're helping us figure things out too.
Awesome.
We're really open. We've got 3 services at Faith Center, Saturday night at 6 and Sunday at 9:30 and 11 o'clock. And if you want to learn more and know more about Jesus, we're here for you. And I do youth group Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And we've got a killer. We call it 707. It's every Saturday night at 707. That's our young adults group.
At the bar?
No.
Okay,
no,
I was going to say, well, that is progressive. Okay.
That's an idea right there.
Yeah.
No.
I heard 707 and I instantly went to the bar.
I know Humboldt's, the whole 707 thing's been kind of played around with a lot of different things. But yeah, we stole it for the church, I guess.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's something that I thought was cool. And we start at 7:07. We really start at 7:30, but we try to aim for 7:07. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So
well, thanks, man. This was awesome. I had a great time.
I had a great time too. It was
Sweet.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. We'll definitely have to get you back on. We'll have to have you and your wife back on next time.
Oh, dude.
Have a little round table.
Yeah, she would. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. When she talks, you actually want to listen. So.
Okay. Well, she's not going to want to listen to either of us then because I'm not that way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. That was awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Really.
Thank you.